Some say the fabric of reality is infinite and unbreakable. Others claim dimensions exist in parallel, never meant to touch. Both would be correct until the moment a bald man in a yellow jumpsuit decided that a particularly annoying mosquito had finally crossed the line. The punch that followed wasn't meant to shatter space-time. Saitama had simply grown tired of the insects buzzing during his afternoon grocery run. One casual swat, one moment of mild irritation, translated into kinetic force that the universe, or rather the barrier between universes, couldn't quite handle. Reality cracked, the mosquito vaporized, and Saitama, standing in the supermarket parking lot with a shopping bag in one hand, felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. "Huh," he muttered, before gravity stopped being a suggestion and became very interested in his position. He fell through colors that shouldn't exist, past shapes that hurt to perceive, and finally crashed onto soil that felt wrong. Too soft, too blue. Wait, blue grass? Saitama sat up, brushing green dirt from his cape, and stared at the landscape around him. The sky was the color of mint toothpaste. The grass beneath him glowed an unsettling azure. 3 suns. No, wait, 1 sun, but it had 3 distinct coronas, hung overhead in a position that made no astronomical sense. "This isn't the parking lot," Saitama observed with his characteristic lack of alarm. In the distance, strange dome-shaped buildings rose from the landscape like enormous mushrooms. The air tasted different here, thicker somehow, and when he breathed it made his lungs feel fizzy. Not unpleasant, just different. He stood, dusted off his gloves, and tried to orient himself. No city, no skyscrapers, no convenience stores as far as his eyes could see, and Saitama's eyes could see very, very far when he squinted. A sudden explosion rolled across the valley. Smoke rose from one of the distant dome structures. Screams followed, high-pitched, alien, terrified. Saitama's expression didn't change, but his body language shifted slightly. His hero instincts, buried under years of ennui and grocery shopping, flickered to life like an old engine turning over. "Guess I should check that out," he said to no one in particular. "Maybe someone there knows where the supermarket is." He bent his knees, calculated the distance with the precision of someone who'd jumped across entire cities, and launched himself into the air. The ground beneath him exploded into a crater. The fizzy atmosphere screamed as he cut through it at speeds that would have ignited a normal person. Saitama just enjoyed the breeze, his cape snapping behind him as the burning village grew larger in his vision. He landed with considerably less force than his takeoff, touching down on the outskirts of what appeared to be a settlement. The dome buildings were definitely not human architecture. Too organic, too flowing, like they'd been grown rather than built. The source of the screaming became immediately apparent. Soldiers. At least, they looked like soldiers. They wore white and purple armor with strange shoulder pads and had devices strapped to their faces that covered one eye with a green lens. Most disturbingly, they came in a variety of species. One had blue skin and horns. Another looked like a humanoid fish. A third seemed to be mostly just a floating head with tentacles. They were dragging green-skinned people, locals, Saitama assumed, from their homes while laughing. "Lord Frieza wants results, not excuses," one soldier barked, his voice amplified by the face device. "Tell us where you're hiding the Dragon Ball or your village burns." One of the green-skinned villagers, an elderly figure with antennae, shook his head. "We know nothing of Dragon Balls. Please, leave us in peace." The soldier responded by raising his hand. Energy crackled around his palm. Actual energy, glowing and purple, and definitely not natural. Saitama's eyes widened slightly. That was new. The energy blast fired, aimed directly at the elderly alien. Saitama moved. He didn't think about it, didn't calculate the distance or trajectory. One moment he was at the village edge, The next, he was standing in front of the elderly villager, his gloved hand extended. The energy blast struck his palm and stopped. Just stopped. Like hitting a wall made of something the universe couldn't argue with. The energy dissipated with a sad little fizzle. "Huh," Saitama said, examining his glove. That tickled. The soldier's face device made a beeping sound, then a faster beeping sound. Then it exploded in a shower of sparks and glass, causing the soldier to stumble backward, clutching his face and screaming. The other soldiers' devices started beeping too, their green lenses flashing numbers that climbed impossibly high before they too shattered. "What the hell?" one soldier shouted. "His power level. It broke the scouter." "That's impossible. Nothing breaks scouters like that except Vegeta. No, this is different. The reading just kept climbing." Saitama looked at them with the mild curiosity of someone who'd just been told his shirt was inside out. "Your face things broke. That's not my fault, right? I didn't do anything." The soldiers looked at each other, then at Saitama, then at their destroyed equipment. Then they did what Frieza's forces rarely did when confronted with the unknown. They attacked anyway. Energy blasts filled the air, purple, blue, yellow, a rainbow of destructive force converging on the bald man in the yellow jumpsuit. The villagers screamed and dove for cover. The elderly alien Saitama had saved grabbed his arm, trying to pull him to safety. "Run, stranger. They'll kill you." "It's fine," Saitama replied calmly as the energy blasts struck him from all directions. The explosions engulfed him completely. Smoke and fire billowed upward. The soldiers ceased fire, panting, certain that nothing could survive such concentrated firepower. The smoke cleared. Saitama stood exactly where he'd been, completely unharmed. His costume didn't even have scorch marks. He looked down at himself, brushed some ash off his shoulder, and sighed. "You guys done? Because I was hoping someone here could tell me where I am. This doesn't look like City Z." One soldier, braver or more foolish than the rest, charged forward with a roar. His fist glowed with energy as he threw a punch that could have shattered mountains. Saitama, more out of reflex than intent, flicked his finger against the soldier's forehead. The soldier stopped. His eyes went wide. Then he flew backward so fast he became a purple and white streak that disappeared over the horizon. A few seconds later, a distant boom echoed across the landscape as he presumably made contact with something very solid, very far away. The remaining soldiers stared. Saitama stared back. "So," he said conversationally, "anyone know where the grocery store is?" They ran, all of them, in different directions, scrambling over each other in their panic to escape the bald alien whose power made no sense and whose casual flick had turned their comrade into a shooting star. Saitama watched them go with a disappointed expression. They didn't answer my question. The elderly villager approached slowly, his antenna twitching with what might have been amazement or terror. You saved us. Who are you, warrior?" "I'm Saitama. I'm a hero for fun." He looked around at the strange alien landscape again. "Also, I'm pretty lost. This isn't Earth, is it?" "Earth?" The elderly alien's face wrinkled in confusion. "I know of no planet called Earth. This is Namek, the homeworld of my people. And you, stranger, have just made very powerful enemies." "Namek," Saitama repeated slowly. "Is that near the shopping district?" The villager stared at him. "I was buying groceries," Saitama explained. "Then there was this mosquito, and then I fell through something weird, and now I'm here. So I guess I need to figure out how to get back before the sale ends. They had eggs on discount." Before the villager could respond, a new sound cut through the air, something mechanical and fast approaching. Saitama looked up to see two figures descending from the mint-green sky. They wore similar armor to the soldiers but looked different. One was a young boy with spiky black hair and a tail. The other was shorter, bald with 6 dots on his forehead. Both wore expressions of extreme wariness. "Gohan, are you sure about this?" the shorter one whispered urgently. "I don't know, Krillin. I can't sense his power at all. It's like he doesn't have any Kai, but those soldiers are running like they saw a ghost." If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The 2 newcomers landed 20 feet away from Saitama, maintaining a defensive posture that suggested they'd seen combat and weren't eager to repeat recent experiences. The boy, Gohan, the shorter one had called him, couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old, yet something about his stance spoke of training and discipline. The bald man, Krillin, looked to be in his 20s, his 6 forehead dots glistening with nervous sweat. "Who are you?" Gohan called out, his voice trying for authority but cracking slightly on the last word. "Are you with Frieza?" Saitama tilted his head. "Frieza? Is that a restaurant? I haven't eaten since breakfast." Krillin and Gohan exchanged confused glances. "He doesn't know who Frieza is," Krillin muttered. "Either he's the best liar in the universe or he really just got here." "The soldiers," Gohan pressed. "We saw them running." "What did you do?" "They attacked some villagers," Saitama replied matter-of-factly. "I stopped them. One of them punched me, so I flicked him. Was I not supposed to do that? I'm still figuring out the rules here." "You flicked him?" Krillin's voice climbed an octave. "We saw that guy fly past us at Mach speed. What kind of flick was that?" "A normal one?" Saitama looked at his gloved hand as if it might provide answers. "I barely touched him. He seemed pretty weak." The elderly Namekian elder stepped forward, his antenna dipping respectfully. "Young warriors from Earth, this stranger speaks truth. He saved our village from Frieza's soldiers with ease. They couldn't harm him at all." Gohan's eyes widened. "You're from Earth?" "City Z, yeah. You guys are from Earth too?" Saitama's expression brightened slightly. "Great. Maybe you know how to get back. I need to return my shopping cart." We can't sense your power," Gohan said slowly, his young mind clearly struggling with the impossibility. "Dad taught me how to feel ki, but when I look at you, it's like there's nothing there. Like you're not even a fighter." "I'm not really," Saitama admitted. "I'm just a hero for fun. Fighting's more of a hobby." Krillin laughed nervously. "A hobby, right. A hobby that lets you send Frieza soldiers flying into orbit." He wiped sweat from his forehead. "Look, Saitama, was it? We're in a really dangerous situation here. This planet is controlled by the most powerful being in the universe, Frieza. He's trying to collect these magical orbs called Dragon Balls that can grant wishes. We're trying to stop him." "Dragon Balls?" Saitama's stomach growled. "Are they edible?" "What? No, they're..." Krillin stopped, took a breath. "You know what? This is going to take a while to explain, but the important thing is Frieza's forces are everywhere, and they've got power levels in the thousands. Some of his elite soldiers have powers over 20,000. "Is that a lot?" Saitama asked genuinely. Gohan nodded vigorously. "A normal person has a power level of 5. A trained martial artist might reach 100. Even Master Roshi at his peak was only around 350. "Master Roshi," Saitama repeated. "Is he the bald one with the sunglasses and the turtle?" Both Krillin and Gohan froze. "How do you know Master Roshi?" Krillin demanded, his guard suddenly up again. "I don't. But you're from Earth. You're talking about martial arts, and I've seen enough weird stuff in my hero work to make educated guesses." Saitama shrugged. "So this Frieza guy is strong?" "Strong doesn't even begin to cover it," Krillin said grimly. "He destroyed planet Vegeta. an entire planet, with a single attack. He has over 500,000 soldiers across his empire, and according to Vegeta, who's Vegeta? A Saiyan prince who tried to invade Earth but is now kind of maybe helping us? It's complicated. Point is, Vegeta said Frieza's power level might be over 1,000,000, maybe even higher. Saitama's eyes lit up. For the first time since arriving on Namek, his expression showed genuine interest. Over 1,000,000? That sounds pretty strong. Pretty strong, Gohan squeaked. He could blow up this entire planet. We're trying to wish for immortality before he... Wait, you want immortality? Saitama interrupted. Why? Not for us. For Piccolo or someone else so they could fight Frieza. Or maybe we'll wish to be strong enough to... Look, we're still working out the details. Dad's on his way, but we don't know if even he can... An explosion cut off Gohan's words. All three Earth warriors turned toward the sky, where a massive pod-shaped spacecraft was descending through Namek's atmosphere, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. It was far larger than the pods Gohan and Krillin had arrived in, and it bore the insignia of the Frieza Force on its hull. More of them, Krillin breathed, and power levels that high can only mean... Elite forces, Gohan finished, his small body tensing. We need to hide. But they were too late. The spacecraft crashed into the ground 1/2 mile away, sending up a plume of blue dirt and green dust. When it cleared, a figure emerged from the pod's opening. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with green skin and pink clothing that looked simultaneously regal and ridiculous. His long green hair was braided, and his face bore a cruel, handsome expression. Zarbon, Krillin whispered. One of Frieza's top enforcers. His power level is over 23,000. 23,000, Saitama repeated thoughtfully. Sounds like a lot of rice. This isn't funny, Gohan hissed. If he finds us... I already have, Zarbon's voice carried across the distance with perfect clarity. He began walking toward them, his gait leisurely and confident. Hiding is pointless when I can sense your pathetic power signatures from orbit. 2 Earth monkeys and some Namekian trash. Lord Frieza will be pleased when I bring him your heads. The Namekian elder grabbed Saitama's arm. Please, flee with the Earth warriors. Zarbon is merciless. He'll kill us all. But Saitama was watching Zarbon approach with an expression that Gohan and Krillin couldn't quite read. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even concern. It was something else entirely. Something almost like boredom beginning to recede. Hey, Saitama called out to the approaching warrior. You're strong, right? These guys said you have a power level of 23,000. Zarbon stopped, a cruel smile spreading across his features. Oh, the bald one has some fight in him. How refreshing. Yes, insect. I possess a power level of 23,000, more than enough to vaporize all of you without breaking a sweat. Cool, Saitama said. I was wondering if you could help me with something. Zarbon's smile widened. Oh, you wish to beg for your life? How delicious. I do enjoy it when they grovel. No, nothing like that. Saitama cracked his knuckles, the sound sharp in the tense air. I was wondering if you could actually give me a real fight. Back where I'm from, everyone goes down in one punch. It's gotten pretty boring, but if you're as strong as these guys say, maybe you could last longer. The temperature seemed to drop. Zarbon's smile vanished, replaced by a cold fury that made the Namekian elder stumble backward. Krillin grabbed Gohan's shoulder, preparing to retreat. Did you just mock me? Zarbon's voice was soft. Dangerous. You, a creature whose power level I can't even detect because it's so insignificant, just challenged me. I wouldn't call it a challenge, Saitama replied casually. More like hoping you're not as disappointing as everyone else. Zarbon's face twisted with rage. His hand shot out faster than any of the soldiers had moved and seized Saitama by the head. Energy crackled around his palm as he began to squeeze with enough force to crush a boulder into powder. "I'll make you scream for that insult, you bald!" Saitama reached up with one hand and gently removed Zarbon's hand from his head. The larger warrior's eyes widened in shock as he found himself unable to resist the grip, unable to pull his hand free from the simple, casual pressure of Saitama's fingers. "That hurt a little," Saitama said. "You're stronger than those soldiers. That's good." He released Zarbon's hand. "Hit me for real this time." What happened next would be debated in bars and military academies across Frieza's empire for years to come. Zarbon, enraged beyond rational thought, unleashed a barrage of strikes that would have shattered mountains. His fists moved in blurs of motion, each impact generating shockwaves that flattened the grass and sent debris flying. He combined physical attacks with Kai blasts, creating explosions that lit up the Namekian landscape like fireworks. The assault lasted for 30 seconds. When Zarbon finally stepped back, panting slightly, smoke obscured the area where Saitama had been standing. "That was decent," Saitama's voice emerged from the smoke. When it cleared, he stood exactly where he'd been, his costume unmarked, his expression thoughtful. "You're definitely stronger than the guys from my world. I actually felt some of those punches." Zarbon stared. His scouter, a more advanced model than the soldiers had worn, was sparking and displaying error messages. "Impossible. That's impossible. Nothing survives that combination. I've destroyed entire rebel fleets with less." "Is that your full power?" Saitama asked. "Or can you go stronger? These guys mentioned transformations or something." Krillin found his voice. "Saitama, don't. If Zarbon transforms..." "Transforms?" Saitama perked up. "Like growing bigger or changing shape? That sounds interesting." Zarbon's breathing had become ragged. Not from exhaustion, from fear wearing the mask of fury. "You want to see my transformation, bald monkey? Fine. I'll show you true horror." His body began to shift. Muscles bulged and twisted, his handsome features contorted into something monstrous, reptilian, with scales and ridges erupting across his skin. His power levels spiked, the very air trembling under the pressure of his Kai. When the transformation completed, Zarbon stood 7 feet tall, a hulking beast whose power had more than doubled. "This is my true form," Zarbon growled, his voice deeper, more guttural. "In this state, my power level exceeds 50,000. Prepare to die screaming." He vanished. True speed, faster than before, faster than Gohan or Krillin could track. He reappeared behind Saitama and drove both fists down in a hammer blow that cratered the ground for 100 feet in every direction. When the dust settled, Saitama had caught both fists in his palms. He hadn't moved from his position. He hadn't even looked particularly strained. 50,000, Saitama mused. "That's okay, I guess, but still nowhere near what I was hoping for." He pushed gently. Zarbon flew backward, tumbling head over heels before catching himself in midair, his newly monstrous face twisted in disbelief and growing terror. "What are you?" Zarbon demanded. "What kind of creature?" "Just a guy who's a hero for fun," Saitama replied. He looked down at his gloved fist, then back up at Zarbon. "But I think I'm starting to understand the power levels these guys talked about. You're strong by normal standards, maybe even strong by this universe's standards, but you're still not enough to give me the fight I've been looking for." "Impossible. My transformed state is..." Saitama jumped. It wasn't a technique. It wasn't a special move. It was just a jump. But the force of it created a sonic boom that shattered every window in the nearby village and sent Gohan and Krillin tumbling backward. Saitama crossed the distance to Zarbon in an instant and delivered a single casual punch to the transformed warrior's gut. Zarbon's eyes bulged. The impact drove the air from his lungs, reversed his transformation in an instant, and sent him hurtling through the atmosphere of Namek like a missile. He disappeared from sight in seconds, nothing but a contrail in his wake. Saitama landed back in his original position. He was tougher than the first guy. That's progress, I guess. Gohan and Krillin stood frozen, their mouths hanging open in identical expressions of shock. "Did you just," Krillin started. "Defeat Zarbon," Gohan continued. "With one punch?" they finished together. Saitama nodded. "Yeah. Though to be fair, it was a pretty good punch. I put some effort into that one." The two Earth warriors looked at each other, then back at Saitama, then at each other again. "Gohan," Krillin said slowly, "I think we need to tell Piccolo about this." "Yeah," Gohan agreed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, we really do." News traveled fast across Namek, particularly when that news involved one of Frieza's elite commanders being launched into orbit by a bald man in a cape. Within the hour, every working scouter in Frieza's forces was buzzing with reports, speculation, and more than a little panic. "What do you mean Zarbon's signature disappeared?" Commander Dodoria bellowed into his communicator, his pink spiky head glistening with sweat inside Frieza's ship. "Elite warriors don't just vanish. Sir, the last reading we had showed him engaging an unknown entity near Namekian Village 47, a trembling technician reported. Then his power signature just dropped off our sensors. We think he might be—" "Don't say it," Dodoria growled. "Zarbon can't be dead. He's one of Lord Frieza's personal guards. Find him. Now." But Dodoria's confidence was shaken. He'd seen the preliminary reports about scouters exploding when attempting to read this mysterious, bald warrior's power level. He'd heard the descriptions from fleeing soldiers about energy blasts that did nothing and casual flicks that sent trained fighters into low orbit. And now Zarbon, beautiful, arrogant, deadly Zarbon, was missing. Dodoria made a decision. "Prepare my attack pod. I'm going to investigate this personally." Meanwhile, in a cave system several miles from where Saitama had encountered Zarbon, Gohan and Krillin had just finished explaining the situation to their green-skinned ally. Piccolo stood with his arms crossed, his white cape billowing slightly in the cave's natural air currents, his face locked in its characteristic scowl. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," Piccolo said, his voice gravelly with skepticism. "You encountered a man from Earth who claims to have arrived here by accident. He doesn't register on Ki sensing. He has no energy signature whatsoever. And yet he defeated Zarbon in his transformed state with a single punch." "That's right," Krillin confirmed, still sounding shaken by the memory. "And you believe this story?" "Piccolo, we saw it," Gohan insisted. "Zarbon hit him with everything. Physical attacks, Kai blasts, his transformation. And nothing worked. Saitama didn't even look hurt." Piccolo's eyes narrowed. "No one is invulnerable, kid. Everyone has a limit. Even Frieza." "But what if he doesn't?" Gohan pressed. "What if Saitama is so strong that normal attacks just don't affect him? Like how ants can't hurt humans no matter how many of them attack." "Then where was he during the Saiyan invasion?" Piccolo countered. "If Earth had a warrior this powerful, why didn't he stop Vegeta and Nappa before—" He trailed off, the unspoken words heavy between them. "Before so many died. He said he was doing hero work in something called City Z," Krillin offered. "Maybe your attack happened somewhere else? Earth's a big place, and if he can't sense Ki, he might not have known there was a battle happening." Piccolo grunted, unconvinced but unable to fully dismiss the possibility. "Where is this Saitama now?" "Still at the village," Gohan replied. The Namekians were trying to explain Dragon Balls to him. He seemed more interested in finding food. A new voice cut through the conversation. Perhaps I should meet this mysterious warrior myself. All three turned to see a figure emerge from the deeper shadows of the cave. He was shorter than Piccolo, but carried himself with an arrogance that made him seem larger. Spiky black hair, a widow's peak, and armor that was battle-scarred but still bore the insignia of Saiyan royalty. Vegeta's dark eyes gleamed with something between curiosity and murderous intent. "You," Piccolo growled. "I thought you were off hunting Frieza's soldiers for your own Dragon Balls." "I was, until my scouter picked up the commotion." Vegeta's lip curled into something that might have been a smile or a snarl. "A warrior strong enough to defeat Zarbon with one attack? That's interesting." "You're not thinking of fighting him," Krillin said, though it came out more like a plea than a statement. "Why wouldn't I?" Vegeta's pride dripped from every word. "I'm a Saiyan prince, the elite of the elite. If there's a warrior on this planet stronger than me, I need to know about it. I need to..." He paused, his jaw tightening. "I need to see if the legends are true." "What legends?" Gohan asked. Vegeta's expression grew distant. "There are old Saiyan stories. Myths, really, about warriors who transcended normal limits, who broke through the ceiling that holds back ordinary fighters. We always dismissed them as fairy tales told to children." His fist clenched. "But if this Saitama is what you describe, maybe those stories weren't myths after all." "Vegeta, don't be stupid," Piccolo warned, "even if Gohan and Krillin are exaggerating." "I don't exaggerate about power," Vegeta snapped. "That's a weakness of your pathetic Earth sensibilities. I'll judge this Saitama myself. If he's truly strong, I'll acknowledge it. If he's not..." The unfinished threat hung in the air like a blade. Before anyone could argue further, an explosion rocked the cave entrance. Dust and debris showered down as a massive pink figure landed outside, his bulk silhouetted against Namek's green sky. "Well, well," Dodoria's voice boomed. "Multiple power signatures all in one place. It's like Lord Frieza's birthday came early." Piccolo moved instantly, positioning himself between the entrance and Gohan. "Dodoria, Frieza's pet attack dog." "Pet?" Dodoria's laugh was wet and cruel. "I'm an elite warrior with a power level of 22,000. I've crushed entire civilizations under my boot. And now I'm going to add all of you to that list, starting with the brat." He raised his hand, energy gathering in a sphere of brilliant pink. But before he could fire, Vegeta stepped forward, his own energy flaring. "You'll have to go through me first, you fat pink fool." Dodoria's face split into a grin. "Vegeta, Lord Frieza will be so pleased when I bring him your head. Your power level might be impressive for a monkey, but you're still no match for..." A shadow fell over Dodoria. He looked up. Saitama was falling from the sky, not flying, not using ki, just falling like he'd jumped from a tremendous height and gravity had finally caught up with him. He landed between Dodoria and the cave entrance with an impact that cratered the ground and sent out a shockwave that knocked everyone back a step. "Oh, hey," Saitama said, noticing the group. "I found you guys. The villagers said you went this way." He looked at Dodoria. "Who's the pink guy?" Dodoria stared. His scouter beeped, then started displaying error messages, then cracked down the middle. You're the one. The bald freak who took out Zarbon." "Zarbon? Oh, the transforming guy." Saitama nodded. "Is he okay? I might have hit him a little hard." "A little hard?" Dodoria's face flushed darker pink with rage. "His pod crashed on the other side of the planet. He's in critical condition. You..." "Critical condition?" Saitama looked genuinely concerned. "I thought he'd be tougher than that. These power level things are confusing." Vegeta was staring at Saitama with an intensity that could have melted steel. His scouter was still functional, and it was going absolutely haywire trying to read the bald warrior's power. Numbers flashed and scrolled too fast to track before the device sparked and died. "Impossible," Vegeta breathed. "What are you?" "I'm Saitama. I already introduced myself." Saitama looked around at the assembled fighters. "Are all of you having some kind of meeting? Should I come back later?" "You're not going anywhere," Dodoria roared. He launched himself at Saitama with speed that blurred the air, his fist glowing with destructive energy. The punch landed squarely on Saitama's face. Nothing happened. Dodoria's eyes widened. He threw another punch, then another. Then a rapid-fire combination that would have reduced a mountain to rubble. Each impact created sonic booms. Each hit generated enough force to level cities. Saitama stood there, unmoving, looking mildly inconvenienced. "Are you done?" Saitama asked when Dodoria finally stopped, panting. "No, die!" Dodoria unleashed a point-blank ki blast that engulfed Saitama in an explosion of pink energy. The blast was powerful enough that Piccolo had to shield Gohan from the shockwave. The ground melted. The air itself seemed to burn. When the smoke cleared, Saitama stood in the center of a glassed crater, his costume completely clean, his expression unchanged. "That one was stronger than the purple guy from before," Saitama observed. "You're at least as tough as that Zarbon person. Maybe tougher." Vegeta's hands were trembling, not from fear, from excitement. He's not even defending. He's taking direct hits from an elite warrior and treating them like insect bites. "Impossible," Dodoria shrieked. "My attacks can destroy planets." "You can't just—" Saitama sighed. "Look, I appreciate that you're trying. I really do. Back on Earth, most villains give up after the first punch. You're at least persistent. But I came over here to ask these guys about Dragon Balls and how to get home, not to fight. So if you could maybe do this later, I'll show you later." Dodoria's entire body began to glow with energy. His power levels spiked as he gathered every ounce of Kai he possessed into a final, desperate attack. Maximum power energy wave. The blast he unleashed was enormous, a pillar of pink destruction wide enough to swallow buildings. It carved through the landscape, vaporizing everything in its path. The sheer power made the very air scream. Saitama raised his hand and caught the blast. Not blocked it, not deflected it. Caught it, like catching a baseball. The massive energy wave compressed in his palm, spiraling and writhing as it tried to break free. Saitama examined it curiously. "Energy attacks are weird here," he commented. "Back home, people mostly just punched stuff." He closed his fist. The energy disappeared, not dispersed, not redirected, just gone. Absorbed or negated by something the universe's laws couldn't explain. Dodoria stood frozen, his face cycling through expressions of disbelief, horror, and dawning comprehension that he'd made a terrible mistake. "My turn?" Saitama asked politely. "No, wait, I surrender. I'll tell Lord Frieza." Saitama flicked his finger. The motion was casual, almost lazy, but Dodoria moved. He became a pink streak that shot upward through Namek's atmosphere, broke through into space, and kept going. Through his scouter's last transmission, Frieza's forces would later calculate that Dodoria achieved escape velocity and was currently on a trajectory that would take him out of the solar system. Saitama dusted off his gloves. 2 for 2, though I really wish one of them could have given me a better fight. The silence that followed was profound. Piccolo's mouth hung slightly open. Krillin and Gohan looked like they'd witnessed a religious experience. And Vegeta was smiling. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a warrior who'd just glimpsed something beyond his understanding, something that simultaneously terrified and thrilled him to his core. His pride warred with his survival instinct and lost. "You," Vegeta said, his voice barely controlled. "What's your power level?" "I don't know," Saitama replied honestly. "Nobody ever measured it. I just did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and ran 10 kilometers every day for 3 years. After that, all my hair fell out and I got strong." Vegeta stared. That's it? That's your secret?" "Pretty much. That's the most ridiculous training regimen I've ever heard." "It worked, though," Saitama pointed out. Vegeta couldn't argue with that logic. He turned to Piccolo. "Change of plans. I'm not fighting him." "Good decision," Piccolo muttered. "Instead," Vegeta continued, his eyes gleaming with calculation, "I'm going to study him. Learn what makes him different. Because if a simple training routine created that," he gestured at Saitama, "then maybe there's hope for surpassing even Frieza." "I'm standing right here," Saitama said. "You know you can just ask me questions, right?" But Vegeta was already walking away, muttering to himself about Saiyan potential and training modifications. Piccolo shook his head and approached Saitama cautiously. "You said you wanted to know about Dragon Balls," the Namekian said carefully. "Yeah, people keep mentioning them. What are they?" "They're magical orbs created by my people. Collect all 7 and they can grant any wish." Saitama's eyes widened slightly. "Any wish? Could they send me home?" "Possibly, though Frieza is also trying to collect them. For immortality." "Immortality?" Saitama frowned. "That sounds boring. You just live forever watching everyone else die and nothing would ever surprise you anymore." Piccolo found himself nodding despite himself. "That's actually a good point. So where are these Dragon Balls?" Saitama asked. "If I help you collect them, can I use the wish to get home?" Gohan stepped forward excitedly. "That's a great idea. With your strength, Frieza's forces wouldn't stand a chance. But there's a problem," Krillin added. "Frieza himself. Even if you beat Dodoria and Zarbon, Frieza's on a completely different level. His power is over 1,000,000, right?" Saitama recalled. "You mentioned that earlier. At least, maybe more. And unlike his soldiers, Frieza has transformations, multiple forms, each stronger than the last." For the first time since arriving on Namek, Saitama's expression shifted. The perpetual boredom that seemed etched into his features receded slightly, replaced by something that might have been genuine interest. "Multiple transformations," he repeated slowly. "So he keeps getting stronger. Like, significantly stronger each time?" "Exponentially stronger," Piccolo confirmed. "Each form multiplies his power beyond the previous one." Saitama was quiet for a moment. Then, "That sounds promising." "Promising?" Krillin sputtered. "He's the most dangerous being in the universe." "Yeah, but he might actually give me a real fight," Saitama said. "Everyone I've faced so far has gone down too easily, even the tough ones. But if this Frieza guy keeps getting stronger, maybe he'll finally push me to use more than a casual punch." Vegeta, who'd been listening from a distance, laughed, a short, harsh bark. "You want to fight Frieza because you're bored? You really are insane." "Maybe," Saitama agreed, "but I came all this way to a weird alien planet with green grass and mint sky. Might as well make it interesting." Piccolo studied the bald warrior carefully. "You understand that people have died fighting Frieza, that more will die before this is over. This isn't a game." "I know," Saitama's voice grew quieter. "I'm a hero. I don't let people die if I can help it. So if this Frieza guy is as dangerous as you say, then I should probably stop him, right?" That's what heroes do. The simplicity of the statement, delivered with such conviction, made even Vegeta pause. Just like that, Gohan asked, "You'll help us?" "Sure. Besides, I need those Dragon Balls to get home anyway." Saitama looked up at Namek's strange sky. "Though I'm kind of curious now. If Frieza really is that strong, this might be the fight I've been waiting for my whole life." Somewhere in his massive ship, surrounded by luxury and death, Frieza sneezed. It was such an unusual occurrence that his remaining gods exchanged worried glances. The galactic tyrant frowned, touching his nose delicately. "How peculiar," he murmured. "I wonder if someone is speaking about me." His scouter beeped. A technician's voice, trembling with fear, delivered news that would change everything. "Lord Frieza, we've lost contact with both Commander Zarbon and Commander Dodoria. Last known position was near the same Namekian village. There are reports of an unknown entity with an unreadable power level. Permission to send the Ginyu force." Frieza's lips curled into a smile that held no warmth. "Not yet. First, I think I'll investigate this anomaly personally. It's been so long since anything interesting happened." He rose from his hovering chair, his tail swishing with anticipation. "Finally," Frieza whispered, "something to break the tedium." The problem with being the strongest warrior in the universe was that eventually everyone started to believe it, including you. Vegeta had spent his entire life under Frieza's shadow, watching the tyrant rule through fear and overwhelming power. He'd seen planets destroyed, warriors crushed, entire civilizations snuffed out with casual gestures. Frieza's power wasn't just physical, it was psychological. It was the certainty that resistance was futile. And now, sitting in the Namekian cave with a bald man in a yellow jumpsuit, eating alien fruit with the enthusiasm of a child at a buffet, Vegeta's entire worldview was quietly having a nervous breakdown. "This one tastes like chicken," Saitama observed, examining a purple fruit the size of his head. "But the texture is more like watermelon. Weird." "Focus," Vegeta growled. "We're discussing battle strategy, not cuisine." "Can't I do both? I haven't eaten since breakfast, and that was in a different universe." Piccolo leaned against the cave wall, his arms crossed. "He has a point. Can't fight on an empty stomach. Though I'm more concerned about what happens when Frieza learns two of his elite commanders are out of commission." "He already knows," Krillin said nervously, checking the dragon radar in his hands. "Our scouters picked up increased activity from his ship. He's mobilizing forces." "Good," Saitama said through a mouthful of purple fruit. "Means I won't have to wait long to meet him." "You don't understand," Vegeta snapped, his patience eroding. "Frieza doesn't just mobilize forces, he acts. If two of his commanders disappeared, he'll take it personally. He might come here himself. Even better." Vegeta's eye twitched. "You really don't grasp the situation, do you? Frieza isn't like the weaklings you've fought. His transformations aren't just power increases, they're fundamental shifts in capability. His first form alone has enough power to destroy this entire planet with a single attack." "How big is the planet?" Saitama asked, genuinely curious. "Does it matter?" Vegeta threw his hands up. "The point is he can destroy it, casually." "I could probably survive that," Saitama said thoughtfully. "But I can't breathe in space, so it would be pretty inconvenient. Guess I should stop him before he blows up the planet then." The casual way he said it, like discussing preventing a minor inconvenience rather than planetary annihilation, made something in Vegeta's brain short-circuit. He'd spent years calculating power levels, strategizing escapes, living in constant awareness of the hierarchy of strength. And here was someone who treated the universe's most terrifying tyrant like a scheduling conflict. Gohan, who'd been quiet during most of the discussion, spoke up. "Saitama, can I ask you something?" "Sure, kid." When you fight, do you ever go all out? Like, use your full power? Saitama paused mid-chew. His expression grew distant, almost melancholy. I don't think I've ever had to. Every fight ends the same way. They hit me. Nothing happens. I hit them once, they go down. Sometimes I try to hold back more, but it doesn't matter. They still lose. That sounds lonely, Gohan said quietly. The cave fell silent. Even Vegeta stopped pacing. It was such a simple observation from such a young child, but it struck at something fundamental. Saitama's face remained neutral, but something in his eyes flickered, a recognition of truth he rarely acknowledged. Yeah, Saitama admitted. It is. Then maybe Frieza is what you've been looking for, Piccolo said carefully. A fight where you don't have to hold back, where you can finally test yourself. Maybe. Saitama finished his fruit and stood, brushing off his gloves. But right now, we should probably deal with whatever's coming. I'm sensing. Well, not sensing exactly, but I can hear engines. A lot of them. Everyone turned toward the cave entrance. Sure enough, a distant roar was growing louder. The unmistakable sound of multiple spacecraft approaching. Attack pods, Vegeta identified. At least 50 of them. 50. Krillin's face paled. That's an entire battalion. Frieza's getting serious, Piccolo observed grimly. He's sending overwhelming force to deal with the unknown threat. Saitama walked toward the cave entrance. Guess I should go meet them. Wait, Gohan called out. You can't fight 50 soldiers at once. Saitama paused, looking back with mild confusion. Why not? Because, Gohan started, then stopped. Because why couldn't he? They'd all watched him dispatch Zarbon and Dodoria with laughable ease. 50 soldiers with power levels in the hundreds or low thousands wouldn't pose more challenge than 2. Never mind. I'm coming with you, Vegeta announced suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at the Saiyan prince. He met their gazes with his characteristic scowl. What? I'm not doing this to help. I want to observe how he fights multiple opponents simultaneously. Research purposes. Sure, Piccolo said dryly. Research. I'll stay with Gohan and Krillin, the Namekian continued. Someone needs to keep working on collecting Dragon Balls. If Saitama keeps Frieza's forces busy, we might actually have a chance to gather them before... An explosion cut him off, not nearby. Distant but massive enough to rattle the cave and send dust cascading from the ceiling. All 5 of them rushed to the entrance and looked up. The sky was filled with attack pods, dozens of them descending in formation like a mechanical meteor shower. But that wasn't what caused the explosion. High above, visible even against Namek's mint-colored atmosphere, a larger ship was descending. It was elegant, almost organic in design, and it radiated power that made even Vegeta tense. That's not a standard attack vessel, the Saiyan prince muttered. That's a personal transport. Meaning? Krillin asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Meaning Frieza didn't send his forces to deal with the threat, Piccolo finished. He came himself. Saitama's eyes widened slightly, not in fear, but in something that looked almost like excitement. That's him, the million power level guy. In his first form, yes, Vegeta confirmed. And if he's here personally, it means he's either very angry or very curious. Neither option is good for us. The larger ship touched down several miles away, creating a shockwave that flattened the landscape for hundreds of feet in every direction. The attack pods continued their descent, forming a perimeter around their lord's vessel. Soldiers began pouring out, dozens, then hundreds of them, all bearing the insignia of the Frieza Force. There's something else, Gohan said, his young voice tight with concentration. More power signatures, strong ones, moving this way fast. The Ginyu Force, Vegeta spat the name like a curse. Frieza's elite mercenaries. Each one has a power level over 10,000. Together, they've conquered thousands of planets. Are they strong? Saitama asked. They're the strongest soldiers in Frieza's army, outside of Zarbon and Dodoria. Cooler, Saitama said, cracking his knuckles. This is starting to get interesting. 5 figures appeared in the sky, moving in perfect formation. They landed with synchronized precision between the cave and the approaching army. Striking poses that would have been ridiculous if not for the sheer power radiating from each of them. The Ginyu force had arrived. Their leader, a tall, purple-skinned warrior with horns, stepped forward, his scouter scanning the group. So you're the anomaly that's been disrupting Lord Frieza's operations. I am Captain Ginyu, leader of the Ginyu force. My power level is 120,000. That's pretty high, Saitama observed. Higher than the other guys. We are not guys, another member, a massive red-skinned warrior, rumbled. We are the elite of the elite. I am Rikum, and I've never lost a fight. That's cool, Saitama replied. I haven't either. The third member, a small orange alien with white hair, giggled. He's funny. Can I fight him first, Captain? Patience, Berta, Ginyu commanded. We'll assess the threat first. Jace, Guldo, readings. A red-skinned warrior with white hair checked his scouter. Captain, I'm getting the same error the others reported. His power level isn't registering. Interesting, Ginyu mused. A warrior who can suppress his power completely. That's a rare skill. Very well, we'll determine your strength the traditional way. Through combat. The Ginyu force struck a synchronized pose, complete with hand gestures and dramatic music that seemed to come from nowhere. We are the Ginyu force, they shouted in unison. Together we are unstoppable. Saitama watched the performance with a blank expression. When they finished, he clapped politely. That was pretty coordinated, must have taken a lot of practice. Ginyu beamed with pride. Finally, someone who appreciates our artistry. Most opponents are too busy dying to acknowledge our presentation. You know what? I like you. It's a shame I'll have to kill you. Could you not? Saitama asked. I'm trying to get home, and these Dragon Ball things seem like my best bet. Ah, so you admit you're after the Dragon Balls, Jas pointed accusingly. That makes you an enemy of Lord Frieza. I mean, I'm kind of already an enemy after hitting those 2 guys earlier, though to be fair, they attacked first. Guldo, a short green alien with 4 eyes, stepped forward. Enough talk. I'll handle this myself with my time-freezing powers. Time freezing? Saitama perked up. That sounds interesting. Guldo took a deep breath, apparently a requirement for his abilities, and held it. The world around him froze. Birds stopped mid-flight. Dust particles hung suspended. Even the wind ceased. Everything except Guldo himself was locked in temporal stasis. He walked towards Saitama, preparing to strike a killing blow while his opponent was helpless. He raised his hand, gathering energy for a point-blank blast that would... Saitama's head turned. His eyes tracked Guldo's movement. Wait, what? Guldo's concentration broke and time resumed. How did you move during my time freeze? Was time frozen? Saitama looked around. I didn't notice. Everything seemed normal. The Ginyu force exchanged worried glances. Ginyu's expression grew serious. So, the reports were accurate. You're not just strong, you're operating on a completely different level. Berta, Jace, Rikum, simultaneous assault pattern alpha. Guldo, support. I'll observe and adapt. Yes, Captain. The 4 members moved instantly. Attacking from multiple angles with coordinated precision, honed through thousands of battles. Energy blasts filled the air. Physical strikes came from every direction. Guldo periodically froze, Time to reposition his teammates for optimal attacks. The assault was magnificent, a perfect demonstration of teamwork and power. The very air seemed to burn under the intensity of their combined assault. The ground shattered. The landscape melted. When the smoke cleared, Saitama stood in the same position, his costume unmarked, his expression thoughtful. "You guys are definitely stronger than the soldiers," he said, "and that coordination thing is impressive, but you're still not quite there." "Impossible," Rikum roared. "My power level alone is over 40,000. "Numbers again," Saitama sighed. "Everyone keeps talking about numbers. Look, I'm not trying to be rude, but I think we're wasting each other's time. None of you are strong enough to really fight me. Can I just talk to your boss? This Frieza guy?" Captain Ginyu's scouter suddenly beeped. His expression shifted from confidence to shock to something approaching fear. "All units, fall back. Lord Frieza is—" A new presence descended upon the battlefield. The temperature dropped. The air itself seemed to grow heavy, oppressive. Every soldier on the field fell to their knees, not from attack, but from pure instinctive fear. Frieza had arrived. He was smaller than Saitama expected, barely 5 feet tall, with a sleek, almost delicate frame. White and purple organic armor covered his body, and a long tail swished behind him with casual menace. But size meant nothing here. The power radiating from this being was different from anything Saitama had encountered, concentrated, refined, and utterly confident. "So," Frieza's voice was smooth, aristocratic, with an undertone of cruelty. "You're the anomaly who's been causing such disruption. How underwhelming. I expected someone more impressive." Saitama studied the galactic tyrant. "You're Frieza?" "Lord Frieza, if you please. I am the Emperor of the universe, the most powerful being in existence. And you are?" "Saitama. I'm a hero for fun." Frieza's eyebrow rose delicately. "A hero? How quaint. And you've come to this miserable green planet to play at heroism." "Actually, I'm just trying to get home, but these guys said you're collecting Dragon Balls to wish for immortality. And that seems like it would make you really hard to stop if you became a villain later, so I figured I should probably deal with that." The casual way Saitama discussed dealing with Frieza made every soldier within earshot tense. The Ginyu force took involuntary steps backward. Even Vegeta, watching from near the cave, felt his throat go dry. But Frieza smiled. "Deal with me. Oh my, my. It's been so very long since anyone spoke to me with such confidence. Do you know how many civilizations have tried to deal with me? How many armies, heroes, and fools have stood where you're standing now?" "A lot, probably," Saitama replied. "Quite correct. And do you know what happened to all of them? They lost. They ceased to exist." Frieza's smile widened. "Completely and utterly. Not just defeated, erased from history. Their planets destroyed, their species exterminated, their very names forgotten. That is what happens to those who oppose me." "That sounds pretty evil," Saitama observed. "You're definitely a villain then." Frieza laughed, a genuine sound of delight. "A villain? How wonderfully simplistic. I prefer to think of myself as a businessman. I acquire planets, eliminate resistance, and resell the real estate. It's very profitable. The death and suffering are merely overhead." "Yeah, you're definitely a villain," Saitama confirmed. He took a step forward. "So I'm going to stop you now." The temperature dropped further. Frieza's smile never wavered, but his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, focused on Saitama with predatory intensity. "Are you now? How delightful. It's been ages since I had a proper warm-up. Tell me, hero, do you know what my current power level is?" Someone said over 1 million? 530,000 to be precise. In this form, Frieza raised one finger. Just this form. I have 3 transformations beyond this one, each exponentially more powerful than the last. So, you keep getting stronger? For the first time since arriving on Namek, Saitama's voice carried a note of genuine interest. Like, way stronger? Indeed. Would you like a demonstration? Before Saitama could answer, Frieza moved. Not flew. Moved. One instant he was standing 30 feet away. The next his fist was buried in Saitama's stomach. The impact created a shock wave that leveled everything within a quarter mile. Soldiers were thrown like leaves. The Ginyu force struggled to maintain their footing. Saitama skidded backward, his feet digging trenches in the ground before he stopped. He looked down at his stomach, then back up at Frieza. That actually hurt a little. Frieza's eyes widened fractionally, the first genuine surprise he'd shown. Hurt? A little? I just struck you with enough force to core a planet. Yeah, it was a good punch, Saitama acknowledged. Definitely the best one I've taken since getting here. You're way stronger than your soldiers. And you're still standing, still conscious, still... Frieza's tail lashed with excitement. Still capable of speech. Remarkable. Tell me, what are you? Just a guy who's a hero for fun. You keep saying that, but just a guy doesn't survive my attacks. Frieza began to circle Saitama slowly, like a predator assessing prey. You're something else. Something new. I wonder. His smile grew dangerous. I wonder how you'll fare against my second form. You're transforming now? Saitama asked. Already? Oh, I don't need to. I could defeat you in this form. But where's the fun in that? Frieza's voice dropped to something almost intimate. It's been so long since I've met someone who could take a hit, so long since I've felt anticipation. Let me give you a proper welcome to my universe. His power began to rise. The ground shook. The atmosphere screamed. Every soldier on the field collapsed under the pressure. Even the Ginyu force struggled to remain standing. Vegeta, Piccolo, and the others felt it from miles away, a suffocating weight that made breathing difficult. Frieza's body began to change. He grew taller, more muscular. Horns erupted from his head. His armor cracked and reformed. When the transformation completed, he stood nearly 7 feet tall, his power radiating like a physical force. My second form, Frieza announced, his voice deeper now. Power level, over 1 million. Now then, hero, shall we see if you can keep that confident expression? Saitama looked up at the transformed tyrant. The slight smile that crossed his face was the first genuine expression of excitement he'd shown since arriving on Namek. Yeah, he said. Let's see. Frieza's second form moved with speed that defied physics. One moment he stood 50 feet away. The next his fist connected with Saitama's face in a blur of motion that generated a sonic boom powerful enough to shatter rock. Saitama's head snapped to the side, the first time since arriving on Namek that any attack had visibly moved him. Excellent! Frieza's voice carried genuine enthusiasm as he unleashed a barrage of strikes. Each punch landed with the force of a meteor impact. Each kick generated shockwaves that carved canyons into Namek's landscape. You can actually feel this. Finally someone who won't break after the first hit. Saitama weathered the assault, his body rocking with each impact but never falling, never retreating. When Frieza paused to admire his handiwork, the bald hero rotated his jaw experimentally. That's better, Saitama said. You're actually making me feel something now. Making you feel something. Frieza's laugh was sharp with delight and disbelief. I'm attacking you with enough force to pulverize moons, and you're discussing it like a massage review. His tail whipped around, attempting to spear Saitama through the chest. Saitama caught the tail mid-strike. "Your turn's over. My turn now." He pulled. Frieza's eyes widened as he found himself yanked forward with irresistible force. Saitama's fist met him halfway, a simple, straightforward punch without fancy ki enhancement or special techniques. Just physical strength translated into kinetic energy. The impact sent Frieza rocketing backward through 3 mountain ranges. Each collision created explosions visible from orbit. When he finally stopped, embedded in the side of a cliff face, Frieza coughed and extracted himself from the rock with shaking hands. That. He touched his jaw carefully, feeling the bruise already forming. That actually hurt me. In my second form, something actually managed to hurt me. From the distant battlefield, the Ginyu force watched in stunned silence. Captain Ginyu's scouter had long since exploded, but he didn't need it to understand what he was witnessing. Their lord, the unstoppable emperor who'd conquered the universe, had just been punched through mountains by a bald man in a cape. "Captain," Jais whispered, "what do we do?" "Nothing," Ginyu replied, his voice hollow. "This is beyond us. This is a battle between monsters." Near the cave, Vegeta's hands trembled. Not from fear, from the realization that everything he'd believed about power hierarchies was crumbling. He's matching Frieza. That bald idiot is actually matching Frieza blow for blow. "Not matching," Piccolo corrected quietly. "Frieza's the one bleeding." It was true. When Frieza emerged fully from the cliff, green blood trickled from his mouth. The first time in decades anyone had managed to make the tyrant bleed. His expression had shifted from playful cruelty to something harder, more focused. "I underestimated you," Frieza admitted, wiping the blood away with deliberate calm. "That was my mistake. I've grown so accustomed to overwhelming superiority that I forgot what it's like to face an actual challenge." His power began to rise again, the very air crackling with energy. "Allow me to correct that error." Energy gathered around Frieza's fingertip, a sphere of death no larger than a marble, but containing enough destructive force to atomize continents. "This is my death beam. It's killed more opponents than I care to count. Let's see how you handle it." The beam lanced out at light speed. Saitama tilted his head. The beam passed through where his eye had been a microsecond earlier and continued on, piercing through a distant mountain and boring a perfectly circular hole that went straight through to the other side. "You dodged," Frieza observed, surprised. "I didn't think you would bother dodging." "It looked sharp," Saitama explained. "Sharp things might be more dangerous than blunt things. I thought I should test that theory later." "Cautious and powerful. You're full of surprises." Frieza's hands began moving in complex patterns, creating dozens of death beams that crisscrossed the battlefield in a deadly web of energy. But caution only delays the inevitable. The beams converged on Saitama from every angle simultaneously. He moved, not with Kai-enhanced flight, but with pure physical speed, jumping and dodging with movements that seemed almost lazy, but placed him precisely between the deadly rays. When the barrage ended, he landed in the exact spot he'd started, unharmed. "You're faster than you look," Frieza admitted. "Much faster. Perhaps I've been too conservative." His body began to shift again, muscles bulging grotesquely. "Would you like to see my third form? I rarely use it. It's aesthetically displeasing. But for you, I'll make an exception." "Wait," Saitama held up a hand. "Before you transform, can I ask something?" Frieza paused, genuinely curious. A request from someone about to die? How could I refuse? "How many forms do you have total?" "4. This would be my third." "And you get stronger each time?" "Exponentially so." "Why do you ask?" Saitama's expression grew thoughtful. I'm trying to decide if I should let you use all of them before I get serious, or if I should end this now." The battlefield went silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. Frieza's face cycled through several expressions before settling on one of pure, incandescent rage. "You," his voice was dangerously soft, "you're suggesting that you're holding back? That this casual effort is you not taking me seriously?" "I mean, yeah," Saitama replied honestly. "That's kind of my problem. I'm always holding back because everyone breaks too easily. But you're way tougher than anyone I've fought before, so I'm thinking maybe if you use all your forms, I can finally have a real fight where I don't have to worry about accidentally killing someone." Frieza's anger evaporated, replaced by something far more dangerous: genuine interest. "You want me at full power. You're asking me to show you my final form. If that's okay, yeah. I came all this way to a weird alien planet. Might as well make it worth it." A slow smile spread across Frieza's face. "Do you know what I like most about you? Your honesty. You're not posturing or bluffing. You genuinely believe you're stronger than me. That kind of confidence is usually foolish, but you've earned the right to it." His power began to spike again, climbing to levels that made the planet itself groan. "Very well, I'll grant your wish. I'll show you my third form." "Actually," Saitama interrupted, "could you just skip to the final one? I don't want to drag this out." Frieza froze. "Skip to... You want me to go directly to my final form? If it's all the same to you, I'm getting kind of hungry again, and I'd like to finish this before dinner." For a long moment, Frieza simply stared. Then he began to laugh, not his usual controlled chuckle, but genuine, unrestrained laughter that echoed across the battlefield. Magnificent, absolutely magnificent. No one, and I mean no one, has ever been so casual about facing my final form. "Very well, hero. I'll show you true power." The transformation that followed was violent and terrible. Frieza's grotesque third form body compacted, shrinking down as his power condensed into a smaller frame. His horns retracted, his muscles streamlined. When the light faded, he stood before them in a form that looked deceptively simple, smooth, sleek, almost elegant in its efficiency. But the power radiating from him was incomprehensible. The Ginyu force had already retreated to their ships. Regular soldiers had fled miles away. Even Vegeta, proud and stubborn, took an involuntary step backward. "This is my final form," Frieza announced quietly. "My true self. In this state, my power level exceeds 100 million. I have destroyed galaxies in this form, ended civilizations with gestures. This is what you asked for." Saitama studied the transformed tyrant carefully. "You feel different, denser, like all that power got compressed into a smaller space. Perceptive. Most opponents are too busy dying to notice such details." Frieza raised one finger. "Shall we test your durability against my true power?" The energy that gathered at his fingertip was different from before. Not a beam, but a sphere of purple-black destruction that seemed to pull light into it. "This is a supernova. I typically reserve it for planetary destruction. It's how I eliminated the Saiyans' homeworld. Appropriate, don't you think, to use it on someone who's made me actually try?" He flicked the sphere almost casually. It expanded as it flew, growing from marble-sized to building-sized to mountain-sized, a miniature star of annihilation that would consume everything in its path. Saitama watched it approach. The heat was intense enough to vaporize the atmosphere around it. The gravitational pull was drawing in debris from miles away. This wasn't just an attack, it was a localized apocalypse. He punched it, his fist connected with the supernova's surface. For a moment, nothing happened, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. Then the sphere began to compress, crumpling inward like paper. Cracks of light appeared across its surface, and then with a sound like reality tearing, it shattered into harmless sparks that rained down like broken glass. Frieza's jaw dropped. That's impossible. That attack destroyed an entire planet. You just punched it apart like it was nothing. It was pretty strong, Saitama admitted. Probably the strongest attack anyone's ever used on me. Made my fist tingle. Tingle. Frieza's voice was flat with disbelief. My planet-destroying ultimate attack made your fist tingle. In a good way, though, it means you're actually strong enough to fight seriously. Saitama's expression brightened with genuine excitement. So, can we stop with the warm-up now? I want to see what you can really do. Something in Frieza snapped. Not his composure, that remained intact, but his understanding of the universe's order. He'd built his empire on absolute superiority. He'd ruled through the certainty that nothing could challenge him, and now this bald anomaly was treating his ultimate techniques like party tricks. You want to see what I can really do? Frieza's voice dropped to a whisper. You want me to fight seriously? Yeah, that'd be great. Then I'll show you despair. Frieza vanished, not with speed, with technique. He moved through space in ways that defied normal physics, appearing and disappearing in stuttering bursts of motion. Each appearance came with an attack. A kick that cratered the ground, a tail swipe that carved trenches, an energy blast that vaporized everything it touched. Saitama defended, his movements economical and precise. He blocked what needed blocking, dodged what needed dodging, and took head-on what wouldn't hurt him. The battle accelerated, moving faster and faster until they became streaks of color across the landscape. White and purple and yellow blurs that collided and separated and collided again. From their distant vantage point, even Piccolo struggled to track the fight. They're moving at speeds that shouldn't be possible. The shock waves alone are altering Namek's geography. That's not even Saitama's full power, Gohan said quietly. I can tell. He's still just defending. He hasn't really hit back yet. Vegeta's fists clenched so hard his gloves tore. How? How is that possible? Frieza's using his final form, his true power, and that bald idiot is just tanking it, Krillin finished, like it's nothing. The battle raged for minutes that felt like hours. Frieza unleashed everything. Death beams by the thousands, energy spheres that could crack planets, physical combinations that had perfected over millennia of conquest. He fought with the desperation of someone whose entire worldview was shattering, and Saitama just kept taking it, his expression growing gradually more disappointed. Finally, after a particularly devastating combination that left a crater visible from space, Saitama held up his hand. Wait. Stop. Frieza, panting slightly, held his position in mid-air. Stop. We're in the middle of... This isn't working, Saitama interrupted. You're strong. Way stronger than anyone I've fought before. But you're still not pushing me. I'm not even breathing hard. Not breathing hard. I've been using everything, every technique, every ounce of power. I know. That's the problem. Saitama's voice carried a profound sadness. I thought maybe in a different universe, with someone who has actual transformations and millions in power level, I'd finally find someone who could make me struggle. But it's the same as always. You're hitting me with everything you have, and I barely feel it. Frieza's face went through a complex series of expressions, rage, denial, and finally, crushing realization. You really are holding back. Yeah, I'm sorry. I hoped you'd be different. How much? Frieza's voice was strained. How much are you holding back? Saitama considered. I don't really know. I haven't had to measure it before, but if I had to guess, I've been using maybe 5%, just enough to not accidentally hurt you too badly when defending. The number hung in the air like a death sentence, 5%. Everything Frieza had thrown at him, his final form's full power, techniques that destroyed worlds, and Saitama had been operating at 5% capacity. Frieza couldn't finish the sentence. I was hoping you'd be the one, Saitama continued. The opponent who'd finally make me go all out, make me feel that rush of a real fight where I might actually lose. But I guess that's not going to happen here either. For the first time in his life, Frieza felt something completely foreign. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of irrelevance. His entire existence, his empire, his power that had dominated galaxies. All of it meant nothing to this being. He wasn't even worthy of the bald hero's full attention. "No," Frieza whispered, then louder. "No, I refuse to accept this. I am Frieza. I am the Emperor of the universe. I will not be dismissed like some common thug." His power exploded outward, climbing beyond 100 million, beyond any level he'd previously achieved. His body began to glow with purple energy, his muscles bulging as he pushed himself beyond all previous limits. "If my current power isn't enough, then I'll surpass it. I'll transcend my limits. I'll show you that I am the apex of evolution." White lightning crackled around his form as his power continued climbing. "This is 100% my absolute maximum, everything I have." The transformation was magnificent and terrible. When it completed, Frieza stood wreathed in an aura of pure destructive energy. The ground beneath him had vaporized, the air itself burned. He had achieved a level of power that defied his own understanding of his capabilities. And Saitama looked at him with sad, sympathetic eyes. "That's definitely stronger," the hero acknowledged. "You're really pushing yourself now. I can respect that." "Then face me," Frieza roared. "Show me your full power. Stop holding back and fight me." Saitama was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "Okay, but you asked for this." His expression changed. The perpetual boredom, the mild disappointment, the sad resignation, all of it vanished, replaced by something that made Frieza's blood run cold. It wasn't rage or battle lust, it was focus. Pure, absolute, terrifying focus. "I'll use a serious punch," Saitama said. "Just one. That should be enough." "One punch?" Frieza's pride warred with his instinct to flee. "You arrogant! I'll meet your attack head on. I'll show you the difference between us." He gathered every ounce of power into his fists, creating twin spheres of energy that contained the accumulated might of an empire. "This is my full power, everything I am. Take this!" He fired both spheres simultaneously, combining them mid-flight into a single massive blast that dwarfed mountains. The attack was so powerful it began to destabilize Namek's core, causing volcanic eruptions across the planet. Saitama pulled back his fist. "Serious punch." He threw the punch. What happened next would be debated by survivors for generations. The punch itself seemed almost ordinary, no special effects, no energy aura, just a fist moving through air. But when it connected with Frieza's ultimate attack, reality itself seemed to pause. The massive energy blast stopped. Then it began to compress, folding inward on itself. Then it simply ceased to exist. Not dispersed or deflected, but erased from existence by the sheer impossibility of the force that had struck it. The pressure wave that followed carved a perfectly straight path through everything in its trajectory. Mountains were split down the middle. The ground was compressed into a canyon that went down miles. The atmosphere itself parted, creating a visible tunnel through the clouds that extended beyond the horizon. And Frieza, standing at ground zero, took the full force of what remained. For a moment he hung in the air, his eyes wide with incomprehension. Then he was thrown backward with such force that he broke the sound barrier instantly, creating a sonic boom that shattered windows on the other side of the planet. He flew through mountains, oceans, and continents, finally crashing into the ground on the opposite side of Namek, with enough force to create a new crater that would become a lake in centuries to come. Saitama lowered his fist. That was a good fight. He really pushed me to use a serious punch. That's more than most people manage. The battlefield was utterly silent. The Ginyu force had stopped watching halfway through, unable to process what they were seeing. Vegeta had fallen to his knees, his mind struggling to comprehend a level of power that made Frieza look weak. And Piccolo, his voice barely audible, whispered, "What kind of training creates that?" The silence following Saitama's serious punch lasted exactly 7 seconds. Then Namek itself began to scream. "The planet's destabilizing," Piccolo shouted from the cave entrance, his antennae picking up vibrations from deep underground. "That attack hit the core. We have minutes, maybe less." Volcanic fissures erupted across the landscape. The mint-green sky turned dark with ash. Namek, which had survived billions of years, was dying, a casualty of forces it was never meant to contain. Saitama looked around at the destruction with a concerned expression. "Oh, I might have hit him too hard." "You think?" Krillin's voice climbed several octaves as a chasm opened near the cave, spewing magma. "We need to get off this planet now." But there was a problem, multiple problems actually. Gohan and Krillin's ship was on the other side of the destabilizing continent. The Ginyu Force's vessels were closer, but convincing Frieza's terrified soldiers to share transportation seemed unlikely. And Vegeta's pod had been destroyed weeks ago. "Wait," Gohan said suddenly. "The Dragon Balls, we collected 6 of them. If we can find the 7th, we can wish ourselves off the planet." "The Dragon Radar's back in the cave," Krillin began, but another quake cut him off. A massive section of rock face collapsed, burying the cave entrance completely. "Or we can't find it," Piccolo finished grimly. "New plan?" Saitama walked over to the group, seemingly unbothered by the apocalypse happening around him. "How far away is your ship?" 300 miles, Krillin estimated. "Through terrain that's currently trying to kill us." "And the Dragon Balls need all 7 to work?" "Yes, and we have no idea where the last one is without the radar." "I can carry you," Saitama interrupted. "To the ship, I mean. I'm pretty fast when I try." Vegeta laughed, a slightly unhinged sound. "Fast enough to cross 300 miles through volcanic eruptions and earthquakes while carrying passengers." "That's..." Saitama picked up all 4 of them, Gohan, Krillin, Piccolo, and Vegeta, tucking them under his arms and holding them like awkward packages. "Hold on. This might be weird." "Wait, what?" Vegeta started. Saitama jumped. The world became a blur. Wind screamed past them at speeds that should have flayed skin from bone, but somehow Saitama's grip protected them from the worst of it. They covered 300 miles in 12 seconds, landing near their ship with enough precision that Saitama didn't even disturb the landing struts. He set them down carefully. All 4 immediately collapsed, their legs refusing to work properly after experiencing speeds their bodies weren't designed to handle. "That was..." Gohan couldn't finish the sentence. "Horrible," Krillin supplied, fighting the urge to vomit. "Impossible," Vegeta muttered, staring at his trembling hands. "Effective," Piccolo concluded, though he looked decidedly green, and not in the normal Namekian way. The ship itself was a small, spherical capsule corp vessel, barely large enough for 2 people comfortably. Getting 5 aboard seemed impossible until Saitama noticed something. "There's another ship. Over there." He pointed to where a much larger vessel sat partially hidden behind rock formations, one of Frieza's transport ships abandoned by fleeing soldiers. "That's a Frieza Force cruiser," Vegeta identified. "Probably left behind when the soldiers panicked. It would have enough room for all of us and faster hyperdrive engines." "Great," Gohan brightened. We can use that to... An explosion of water and steam erupted from a nearby fissure. Through the spray, a figure emerged, battered, bleeding, but very much alive and absolutely furious. Frieza. His elegant final form was damaged, armor cracked, white skin showing purple bruises that shouldn't exist. But his eyes burned with an intensity that went beyond rage into something primordial. You, his voice rasped, damaged but audible. You dare to turn your back on me? Saitama turned around with surprise. You're still conscious? That's actually impressive. Most things stay down after a serious punch. Impressed, Frieza spat green blood. You humiliate me, destroy my pride, crack this miserable planet in half, and you're impressed that I survived? Well, yeah, it means you're tougher than I thought. That's a compliment. I don't want your compliments. I want your death. Frieza raised both hands, gathering energy despite his damaged state. If I'm going to die on this pathetic rock, I'm taking you with me. Death Beam Barrage. Hundreds of thin energy beams lanced out from Frieza's fingertips in a desperate, frenzied assault. But his aim was off. His power diminished. Several beams went wide, striking the volcanic landscape and creating more instability. One beam, however, went directly toward Krillin, who'd been too stunned to move. Saitama appeared in front of the beam, catching it in his palm. That's dangerous. You could hurt someone. That's the point, Frieza screamed, his composure completely shattered. He fired again and again, each blast weaker than the last, until finally his hands dropped, energy depleted. Saitama walked toward him slowly. Frieza tried to retreat, but his legs gave out, forcing him to his knees. For the first time in his life, the Emperor of the Universe looked up at someone with genuine fear. "Are you going to kill me?" Frieza asked, his voice barely a whisper. Saitama considered this. "I should probably. You've done a lot of bad things. Destroyed planets, killed people, all that villain stuff." He paused. "But I'm not really the execution type." "That feels wrong, even for someone like you." "Then what?" Frieza couldn't keep the confusion from his voice. "You'll spare me? After everything?" "I'm going to knock you out," Saitama explained. "Then these guys can figure out what to do with you. Maybe there's a space jail or something. That seems more like a proper hero ending." "A space jail?" Frieza's laugh was bitter. "How mundane. How utterly—" Saitama flicked his forehead gently. Frieza's eyes rolled back and he collapsed, unconscious but alive. "There," Saitama said, turning back to the group. "Problem solved. Should we leave now? The ground's getting pretty melty." Vegeta stared at the unconscious tyrant who'd haunted his nightmares for decades. "You just knocked him out, like he was a common thug. Was I supposed to do something else?" "Most people would have killed him," Piccolo observed. "Probably should have. He'll be a threat as long as he lives." "Maybe, but killing someone who can't fight back feels wrong, even if they're evil." Saitama's expression grew thoughtful. "Besides, there's something sad about him. He trained his whole life to be the strongest, built his entire identity around power, and then someone stronger shows up and makes it all meaningless. That's kind of what happened to me, except in reverse. I understand that feeling." Gohan looked at Saitama with new appreciation. "Dad would like you. You fight like him, strong but not cruel. Your dad's the one coming to fight Frieza, right?" "Goku." "Yeah, he should be almost to Namek by now." "Cool, I'd like to meet him. Maybe he's stronger than Frieza was. That'd be nice." Another massive quake rocked the landscape. A chunk of Namek's crust, calved off into space, visible as a massive piece of the planet, simply broke away and began drifting. "Conversation later. Survival now!" Krillin shouted, running toward the Frieza Force cruiser. They piled into the ship, Saitama having to duck to fit through the door, meant for species generally shorter than humans. The interior was spacious, designed to transport entire squadrons. Vegeta immediately moved to the pilot's console, his fingers dancing over unfamiliar controls. "I can fly this. Used to pilot similar vessels for Frieza's forces." His voice carried old bitterness. "Never thought I'd steal one to escape him." "Is he coming with us?" Piccolo gestured to Frieza's unconscious form, which Saitama had casually slung over his shoulder. "Can't just leave him here to die," Saitama replied. "That's not very heroic. He's a mass murderer." "Yeah, but he's unconscious. Not really fair to kill unconscious people, even evil ones." Vegeta made a disgusted sound but didn't argue. He was too focused on the launch sequence, his hands moving faster as another quake threatened to tip the ship. "Everyone strap in. This takeoff's going to be rough." The engines roared to life. The ship lifted off just as the ground beneath them collapsed into molten rock. They shot upward through Namek's deteriorating atmosphere, dodging chunks of debris and volcanic ejecta. Below them, the planet was visibly coming apart, great rifts spreading across continents, oceans boiling away, the very structure of the world unraveling. "We made it," Gohan breathed as they broke into space. "We actually—" "Wait," Piccolo interrupted, his voice tight. "The Namekians, the villages, they're still down there." The observation hit everyone like a physical blow. In their panic to escape, they'd forgotten about the native population, thousands of peaceful Namekians who had nothing to do with Frieza's Dragon Ball hunt or Saitama's arrival. "Turn around," Piccolo commanded. "We have to—" "We can't," Vegeta said flatly. "Look." Through the viewport, they watched as Namek's destruction accelerated. The planet was breaking into large chunks, its core fully exposed and glowing white-hot. Any ships that had been on the surface were either destroyed or had already fled. "The Dragon Balls," Gohan whispered. "We could have wished them all to safety. But we left them behind." "We left everyone behind," Krillin added, his voice hollow. The guilt settled over them like a heavy blanket. They'd survived, but at what cost? An entire civilization gone. The Dragon Balls lost, all because they'd panicked and run. Saitama looked out at the dying planet with an unreadable expression. "Is this my fault? Because I punched too hard?" "No," Piccolo said firmly, though his voice was strained. "Frieza would have destroyed Namek eventually anyway. He's done it to countless worlds. You just accelerated the timeline. That doesn't make me feel better." "It shouldn't." They sat in uncomfortable silence as the ship's autopilot plotted a course away from the debris field. Frieza remained unconscious in the corner, his breathing shallow but steady. Outside, Namek's final moments played out in silent tragedy, a planet that had stood for eons reduced to asteroids in minutes. "There," Gohan suddenly pointed, "is that—" A small spherical ship was visible in the distance, approaching Namek's remains. It bore Earth markings, a Capsule Corp logo on its hull. "Dad's ship," Gohan's face lit up. "He made it." "He's too late," Vegeta observed. "Namek's gone. The Dragon Balls are destroyed. There's nothing left to save." "We should signal him," Krillin suggested. "Let him know we're alive at least." Vegeta opened a communication channel. "Earth vessel, this is stolen Frieza Force Cruiser Alpha 7. Is that you, Kakarot?" A voice crackled through, strong, cheerful, completely at odds with the destruction around them. "Vegeta, is that you? What happened to Namek?" "Long story. Short version. We met someone stronger than Frieza. Planet got destroyed. We escaped. Someone stronger than Frieza." Goku's voice carried excitement rather than fear. "Really? Where are they? Can I fight them?" Everyone turned to look at Saitama, who raised his hand awkwardly. "That's me, I guess. I'm Saitama." "Saitama, I'm Goku. I've been training in 100 times gravity chamber for this fight. I learned new techniques. I even mastered the Kaioken times 20. Goku's enthusiasm was infectious even through radio static. "But if you already beat Frieza, does that mean you're looking for stronger opponents? Because I'd love to test myself against you." Saitama's expression brightened slightly. "You want to fight me? Even after what I did to Frieza?" "Especially after that. A warrior strong enough to beat Frieza is exactly the kind of challenge I've been training for. What do you say?" For the first time since arriving in this universe, Saitama smiled, a genuine expression of hope. Yeah, I'd like that. You sound like you actually enjoy fighting." "Love it. It's the best. Though we should probably find a safer place than this debris field. How about we dock our ships and talk strategy?" Vegeta muttered something about Saiyan idiots and excitement over common sense, but adjusted course to match Goku's trajectory. As the two ships maneuvered closer, Piccolo leaned toward Saitama. "Fair warning, Goku's an idiot. A powerful, talented, incredible idiot who saved the world multiple times, but still an idiot." "That's okay," Saitama replied. "I'm not that smart either." "We'll probably get along." "That's what I'm afraid of," Piccolo muttered. The ships docked. There was a brief moment of pressurization before the airlock opened and Goku stepped through. He was shorter than Saitama expected, though still well-built, with gravity-defying black hair and orange gi marked with symbols Saitama didn't recognize. But what struck him most was Goku's eyes. They were bright with excitement and completely unafraid. "Wow!" Goku looked Saitama up and down. "You don't look that strong, which means you're way stronger than you look. That's so cool." "Thanks?" Saitama wasn't sure if that was a compliment. "Is that Frieza?" Goku noticed the unconscious tyrant. "He looks way different from what King Kai described, and way more beat up. Did you really defeat him?" "Yeah, he transformed 4 times and everything. It was a pretty good fight." "Pretty good? Fighting someone who can transform 4 times sounds amazing. Did he push you to your limits? Did you have to use special techniques?" "Not really. I just punched him." Goku's eyes went wide. "Just punched him? No Kaioken? No spirit bomb? Just a regular punch?" "Well, a serious punch. There's a difference." "A serious punch," Goku repeated slowly, like he was discovering a new flavor of ice cream. "I've got to see that. Want to spar? Just a friendly match. We could find an empty planet somewhere and really cut loose." Saitama found himself genuinely considering it. This Goku person seemed different from others he'd met. Not afraid of his strength, not trying to challenge him from pride or anger, but from pure love of combat itself. "Maybe after we figure out what to do about this," Saitama gestured to the destroyed planet and its refugees, "and also how to get me home. I still need to return my shopping cart." "Shopping cart?" Goku tilted his head. "Long story." "Well, we've got a long trip ahead of us." Goku's grin was infectious. "Let me tell you about Earth, and training, and food. Do you like food? I love food." As Goku launched into an enthusiastic explanation of Earth's various cuisines and training methods, Vegeta set course for Earth. Piccolo meditated on their losses. Gohan and Krillin compared notes on what they'd witnessed, and Frieza remained unconscious, his empire crumbling even as his body slowly healed. Behind them, Namek's remains slowly drifted apart, a tomb for a peaceful civilization that had wanted nothing but to be left alone. And ahead, Earth waited, with new challenges, new complications, and the question of what to do with a hero too strong for his own universe, much less someone else's. The journey to Earth took 3 days at the cruiser's maximum speed. In that time, several dynamics became apparent. First, Goku couldn't sit still. He bounced between compartments, demonstrated techniques in zero gravity that nearly breached the hull, and challenged everyone to arm wrestling contests that he somehow lost to Saitama, despite using Kaioken times 3. Second, Vegeta was having an existential crisis. He spent most of the trip staring at star charts while muttering calculations about power levels that no longer made sense. Third, Frieza woke up on day 2. Where? The tyrant's voice was hoarse as consciousness returned. He found himself in a small holding cell, energy suppression cuffs on his wrists, standard equipment on Frieza force vessels for transporting dangerous prisoners. The irony wasn't lost on him. Saitama sat outside the cell, eating what appeared to be alien jerky. "Oh, you're awake. How's your head?" Frieza blinked, memory returning in fragments. The battle, the humiliation, the impossible power that had rendered his transformations meaningless. His hands trembled, not from physical damage, but from the psychological weight of total defeat. "You kept me alive," Frieza observed quietly. "Yeah, seemed like the right thing to do. Most would have killed me, should have killed me. I've destroyed countless civilizations, ended trillions of lives. By any measure of justice, I deserve death." Saitama chewed thoughtfully. "Probably, but I'm not really a judge or executioner. I just stop bad guys. What happens after isn't really my thing." Frieza laughed, a broken, hollow sound. How naive, how perfectly, impossibly naive. He looked at his cuffed hands. "Do you know what I've lost? Not just the battle, but everything. My empire will crumble when word spreads that I was defeated. My commanders will turn on each other. The territories I conquered will revolt. Everything I built over decades will collapse because one bald man was stronger than me." That sounds like a good thing if you were conquering people. From your perspective, perhaps. From mine, it's the end of meaning itself. Frieza's eyes met Saitama's. "You asked why I wanted immortality. It wasn't fear of death. It was fear of this. Irrelevance, obsolescence, the knowledge that someone stronger exists, making my power meaningless." "I get that," Saitama said quietly. "That's kind of how I feel all the time. Every fight ends the same way. Every opponent goes down. It stops meaning anything after a while." Frieza stared at him. Are you comparing your situation to mine?" "Well, yeah. You spent your life being the strongest, then found out you weren't. I spent my life becoming stronger, then found out nothing could challenge me anymore. Different paths, same destination, being unsatisfied. That's..." Frieza couldn't find words. The audacity of comparing his cosmic empire to existential boredom should have enraged him. Instead, he found himself laughing again. Genuine laughter this time. "You're insane. Completely, utterly insane. And somehow that makes you more dangerous than anything I've ever encountered." The cell door opened. Goku stepped in, his characteristic grin in place. "Hey, Frieza's awake. How are you feeling?" Frieza's expression hardened immediately. "Kakarot, the last surviving Saiyan besides Vegeta. How fitting that you arrive after all the excitement. Actually, there's my son Gohan too, and probably other Saiyans we don't know about. The universe is pretty big." Goku's cheerfulness in the face of Frieza's legendary cruelty was almost offensive. "Anyway, I wanted to ask, when you're fully healed, would you want to train together?" The silence that followed was profound. "Train," Frieza repeated slowly. "Together?" "Yeah. Saitama told me about your transformations. 4 forms, each way stronger than the last. That's so cool. I bet with proper training you could get even stronger. Maybe discover a 5th form." You want to help me become stronger. Me, the being who destroyed your race's homeworld, who would have killed you and everyone you love given the chance. Well, yeah, you did some pretty bad stuff, Goku acknowledged cheerfully. But that doesn't mean you can't change. Besides, strong opponents make me stronger. If we train together, we both benefit. Frieza looked to Saitama. Is he serious? I think so, Saitama replied. He seems pretty genuine about the whole fighting makes everyone better thing. He's an idiot, Vegeta's voice came from the doorway. The Saiyan prince leaned against the frame, arms crossed. A powerful idiot who somehow keeps winning despite making the worst tactical decisions possible. Thanks, Vegeta. Goku didn't seem bothered by the insult. That wasn't a compliment, Kakarot. Frieza processed this bizarre interaction, his greatest enemies, casually bantering while he sat imprisoned. The warrior who defeated him, eating snacks without concern. The Saiyan who should want him dead, offering training partnership. Nothing made sense anymore. I need time to think, Frieza said finally, about everything. Sure, Goku's smile never wavered. We've got like another day before reaching Earth. Plenty of time. After they left, Frieza sat alone in the cell, staring at the energy suppression cuffs. He tested them experimentally. They worked perfectly, his power locked away. He was truly helpless, at the mercy of those he'd consider beneath him just days ago. And yet, they'd kept him alive, fed him, offered rehabilitation instead of execution. What kind of universe is this? He muttered to himself. Meanwhile, in the ship's common area, a different conversation was happening. We need to talk about Earth, Piccolo said seriously. Specifically, what happens when we arrive with both Saitama and Frieza? Party? Goku suggested. No, Goku. Not party. Panic. Mass panic. The world's governments barely handled the Saiyan invasion. Now we're bringing back the universe's most feared tyrant and a hero who makes Frieza look weak. Oh, Goku's expression grew thoughtful. That could be complicated. Could be? Krillin's voice cracked. People are going to lose their minds. And what about Frieza? Who's going to guard him? Where do we even keep a prisoner that powerful? Capsule Corp has some high security facilities, Gohan offered. Mom told me about them once, designed to hold dangerous technology. Frieza isn't technology, Vegeta pointed out. He's a living weapon who, given enough time, will plot escape and revenge. Then we don't give him time, Piccolo said. We keep him suppressed, monitored, and contained until we figure out permanent solutions. Or, Goku interjected, we give him a chance to change. Everyone turned to stare at him. Change, Vegeta said flatly. You want to give Frieza, emperor of a genocidal empire, destroyer of worlds, enslaver of species, a chance to change. Why not? People can change. Piccolo used to be evil. I was never... Piccolo started, then stopped. Okay, technically, my father was the Demon King, and I inherited his mission to conquer Earth. But that's different. How? Because I chose differently before killing millions. Frieza's body count is in the trillions. But isn't that more reason to help him change? Goku pressed. If he becomes good, think of all the lives that could be saved in the future. Saitama, who'd been listening quietly, spoke up. In my world, there's a cyborg named Genos. He used to be human until a rampaging cyborg destroyed his family. He became a cyborg himself to get revenge. But instead of becoming evil, he became a hero. He paused. I'm not saying Frieza will become a hero, but maybe he doesn't have to stay a villain either. Vegeta made a disgusted sound. Naive idiots, both of you. Frieza's nature is cruelty. You can't rehabilitate that. Maybe not, Saitama agreed, but keeping him alive gives the option. Killing him closes it permanently. The philosophical debate was interrupted by an alarm. The ship's navigation system showed they were approaching Earth's solar system, just hours from their destination. Everyone should prepare, Piccolo advised. Earth's going to have questions. Lots of questions. About Namek, about Frieza, about Saitama. We need consistent stories. Or we just tell the truth, Goku suggested. The truth is insane. Yeah, but it's still true. They spent the remaining time preparing, contacting Earth authorities, warning them of the situation, and arranging for secure facilities. Bulma, contacted via long-range communication, nearly had a breakdown when told about Frieza, but calmed down when assured he was imprisoned and unconscious. They didn't mention he'd woken up. Master Roshi's response was simply, "You kids always bring back the strangest souvenirs." As Earth grew visible in the viewport, a blue marble against black space, Saitama felt something unexpected. Homesickness. Not for this Earth, but for his own. His apartment in City Z, his cactus, his manga collection, the simple life of a hero who occasionally punched monsters. "Will the Dragon Balls actually send me home?" he asked Goku quietly. "If they can, they will," Goku assured him. "Earth's Dragon Balls aren't as powerful as Namek's were, but they've done some pretty amazing stuff. Brought people back from the dead, erased memories, changed the past. If dimensional travel is possible, they'll make it happen. And if it's not," Goku's grin returned, "then you'll have to stay here. We can train together, fight strong opponents, eat lots of food. It'll be great." Saitama found himself smiling slightly. "You're weird, but in a good way." "Thanks. People tell me that a lot." The ship entered Earth's atmosphere, descending toward Capsule Corporation's main facility. Below, they could see crowds gathering, news helicopters, military vehicles, curious civilians. The arrival of a Frieza Force cruiser had not gone unnoticed. "Here we go," Piccolo muttered. "Into chaos." "At least it'll be interesting," Krillin offered weakly. The ship landed with a soft thud, the airlock pressurized, the ramp extended. And as they stepped out into Earth's sunlight, Saitama took a deep breath of air that smelled different from Namek's, but still not quite like home. "Welcome to Earth," Goku announced cheerfully, throwing his arms wide. "It's not perfect, but it's pretty great most of the time." A woman with blue hair, Bulma, pushed through the crowd and immediately punched Vegeta in the arm. "You stole a Frieza Force cruiser?" "Borrowed. And it was that or die on an exploding planet. And Frieza." She peered into the ship nervously. "Imprisoned, suppressed, and unconscious again," Piccolo assured her. "We gave him a sedative for landing. He won't be waking up for hours." "Good, because we've prepared a containment unit that could hold a nuclear bomb. If it can't hold him, nothing Earth-made can." As the logistics of transferring a space tyrant to secure containment unfolded, Saitama stood slightly apart from the group, watching the organized chaos with detached interest. This wasn't his world, these weren't his people. But for the first time since the mosquito incident, he felt something like purpose. These people had problems he could help solve. They had threats he could face. And maybe, just maybe, they had challenges that could finally push him beyond his limits. "Hey," a young man with a sword approached, Trunks, Bulma's son from an alternate timeline, though Saitama didn't know that yet. "You're Saitama, right? The one who defeated Frieza?" "Yeah, that's me. I wanted to thank you. In my timeline, Frieza comes back as a cyborg and kills millions before I can stop him. You defeating him here might prevent that future." "Your timeline?" Saitama tilted his head. "Time travel's possible here. It's complicated, but yes. And if you're staying on Earth, there are threats you should know about. The androids, Cell, future enemies that make Frieza look weak. For the first time in days, Saitama's eyes showed genuine interest. Stronger than Frieza? Much stronger, and unlike Frieza, they don't have mercy or honor. They just destroy. Saitama cracked his knuckles. That sounds promising. Trunks smiled grimly. You really are as strong as Dad? I mean, Vegeta said. Most people would be terrified. You sound excited. I've been bored for a really long time, Saitama admitted. This universe might finally give me what I'm looking for. In his containment cell, sedated but not quite unconscious, Frieza heard those words. And despite everything, his defeat, his humiliation, his imprisonment, he felt something unexpected. Envy, not of Saitama's power, but of his purpose. The bald hero was still searching, still hoping, still believing he might find meaning in combat. Frieza had lost that hope years ago. Perhaps, he thought as the sedative fully claimed him, that was his real weakness. Not power, but purpose. The containment unit was impressive, a spherical chamber 40 feet in diameter, constructed from experimental alloys that could theoretically withstand a direct nuclear blast. Energy dampeners lined the walls, similar to the cuffs Frieza wore but amplified 1,000-fold. The entire structure floated in the center of Capsule Corp's subterranean facility, suspended by electromagnetic fields and monitored by 100 different sensors. This was originally designed to contain experimental antimatter reactions, Bulma explained as they transferred Frieza from the ship. We've never tested it on a living being before. Comforting, Piccolo muttered. The transfer went smoothly. Frieza, still sedated, was placed inside the sphere. The entrance sealed with a hiss of pressurizing locks. Energy dampeners activated, and the tyrant's power signature, previously a barely detectable whisper due to his injuries, vanished completely. He's locked down, one technician confirmed. Even at full strength, he'd need a week of constant effort to break through. And that's assuming the fail-safes don't activate. What fail-safes? Krillin asked nervously. If he attempts escape, the chamber floods with a paralytic gas we synthesized from Namekian flora samples. Non-lethal but incapacitating. If that fails, the chamber ejects into space via emergency rockets. And if somehow he escapes that, Bulma's expression hardened. The self-destruct activates, takes out a 5-mile radius. You built a bomb around him, Vegeta observed approvingly. I built a prison that becomes a bomb if necessary. There's a difference. Saitama studied the containment unit thoughtfully. What if he doesn't try to escape? Everyone turned to look at him. What do you mean? Gohan asked. I mean, what's the plan if he just stays there? Do you keep him locked up forever? Or is there some kind of trial or rehabilitation program? The question hung awkwardly in the air. No one had thought that far ahead. They'd been too focused on containing the immediate threat to consider long-term implications. Earth doesn't have jurisdiction over intergalactic war crimes, Bulma said slowly. We don't even have a legal framework for this kind of situation. The Galactic Patrol might, Trunks offered. They're the closest thing to a universal police force, but their response time is measured in months, and their prison facilities have never held anyone as powerful as Frieza. So we're keeping him here indefinitely, Piccolo concluded. In a bomb we hope we never have to detonate. Unless he changes, Goku interjected optimistically. Like we talked about. Goku, Vegeta's voice was dangerously low. If you seriously believe Frieza, the being who murdered my father, enslaved my entire race, and destroyed our homeworld, can be rehabilitated through friendship and training, you're even more naive than I thought. I don't think it'll be easy, Goku countered, but I think people deserve chances, even bad people. He's not people, he's a monster. So was Piccolo, so were you, technically. Vegeta's power level spiked briefly before he suppressed it with effort. That's different. How? Because we chose differently before the body count reached trillions. The argument was heating up when an alarm interrupted them, not from Frieza's containment, but from external sensors. Something was approaching Earth's atmosphere at incredible speed. "Please tell me that's not another Frieza Force ship," Krillin pleaded. Bulma checked the readings. "No, it's smaller, much smaller, and the energy signature is weird. Not Ki exactly, something else." On the monitors, they watched a figure descend, humanoid, moving under its own power through the vacuum of space. As it entered the atmosphere, details became visible. Purple skin, mohawk-like hair, the same curved head fin design as Frieza. "That's a frost demon," Vegeta identified, his voice tight. "Frieza's species, but not one I recognize." The figure landed directly outside Capsule Corp with enough force to crater the parking lot. When the dust cleared, he stood, revealed, taller than Frieza, more heavily built, with darker purple coloring and a more aggressive posture. His power radiated outward, causing nearby car alarms to activate. "I am cooler," the being announced, his voice deeper than Frieza's, but with the same aristocratic inflection. "I seek my brother, Frieza. Sensors indicate he's here, along with the being responsible for his defeat." "Brother?" Gohan's voice cracked. "Frieza has a brother." "Oh, this is bad," Krillin whispered. "This is really, really bad." Saitama, who'd been quietly observing, stepped forward. "I'm the one who fought Frieza. Are you here to fight too?" Cooler's eyes focused on the bald hero, and something like anticipation crossed his features. "I sensed your battle from 3 star systems away. The energy output was extraordinary. It's what drew me here." "To rescue your brother?" "Rescue?" Cooler laughed coldly. "No, to see if you're truly as strong as the readings suggested. And if so..." His power began to rise, creating visible distortions in the air. "To surpass Frieza by defeating you." "Family rivalry," Saitama observed. "That's kind of sad." "Sad?" Cooler's power spiked higher. "Frieza and I have competed our entire lives. He was always father's favorite, always the prodigy, always overshadowing my accomplishments. But now he's been defeated by some bald nobody, and I'll prove my superiority by..." "I'm not interested," Saitama interrupted. Cooler stopped mid-rant. "What?" "I already fought one space tyrant this week. It was pretty disappointing. Fighting his brother sounds like more of the same." The sheer audacity of the dismissal left Cooler speechless for several seconds. You dare? I'm stronger than Frieza ever was. I have a 5th transformation he never achieved." "Cool, still not interested." Saitama turned to Bulma. "Is there food? I haven't eaten real Earth food in days." "The cafeteria's on the 3rd floor," Bulma replied automatically, too shocked by the casual dismissal to think clearly. "Thanks." Saitama started walking toward the building. Cooler's hand shot out, firing an energy blast that would have vaporized a city block. It struck Saitama in the back, creating an explosion that shattered windows across the facility. When the smoke cleared, Saitama stood unharmed, looking back over his shoulder with mild annoyance. "That was rude. I was walking away." "You don't walk away from me." Cooler transformed instantly, not bothering with lower forms. His body shifted, becoming more streamlined, a mask-like face guard appearing over his features. His power multiplied exponentially. "This is my 5th form, final form, the transformation Frieza never achieved. In this state, I'm twice as powerful as he ever was." "That's nice," Saitama replied. "But I'm still going to get food." He continued walking. Cooler appeared in front of him, moving faster than eyes could track. "Fight me." "No, I'll destroy this entire facility." "Then these people will stop you." Saitama gestured to the Z fighters. "They're pretty strong. Not as strong as me, but strong enough for someone like you. Goku stepped forward, his expression serious for once. He's right. If you want to fight, I'll take you on. Me too, Vegeta added grudgingly. Can't let Kakarot have all the fun. Piccolo cracked his knuckles. I've been waiting to test my new training. Even Gohan, young and nervous, assumed a fighting stance. I won't let you hurt people. Cooler looked at the assembled warriors, his scouter, a more advanced model than his brothers, reading their power levels. Each one was individually weaker than him, but together, it would be a challenge, and that hadn't been the plan. This is beneath me, he decided. I came to face the strongest, not play with children and has-beens. Where is Frieza? Locked up, Krillin answered, and that's where he's staying. Locked up? My brother, Emperor of the Universe. Locked up like a common criminal. Cooler's laugh was bitter. How the mighty have fallen. Let me see him. Absolutely not, Bulma stated firmly. I wasn't asking. Power exploded outward. The Z fighters braced themselves for combat. Saitama, halfway to the cafeteria, sighed and turned around. Look, he said tiredly. I really don't want to fight you. I'm hungry, I'm in a bad mood, and you seem like you've got some family issues to work through. Can you just leave? Make me. Saitama appeared in front of Cooler instantly. No technique, no wind-up, just raw speed that defied physics. His finger extended and flicked Cooler's forehead with the same casual force he'd used on Dodoria. Cooler became a purple streak that shot upward through Earth's atmosphere, broke into space, and continued accelerating until he disappeared from visual range. There, Saitama said, dusting off his glove. Now, where's this cafeteria? The Z-fighter stood in stunned silence. Again, he's gonna come back, you know, Vegeta said finally. That kind of humiliation. He'll return stronger. Probably, Saitama agreed, but that's a later problem. Right now, I'm dealing with hunger. As he finally made it to the building, Goku turned to the others with his characteristic grin. I really want to spar with him. Goku, Piccolo said seriously, I don't think sparring is possible with someone at his level. It would be like an ant sparring with a human. Then I'll train until I'm strong enough to be worth sparring with. Goku's enthusiasm was infectious despite the circumstances. That's the best part about meeting someone stronger. It gives you something to aim for. Inside the containment facility, Frieza had witnessed everything through security monitors. He watched his brother, his proud, arrogant brother who'd always competed for their father's approval, be casually dismissed and flicked into space like an annoying insect. And for the first time since his defeat, Frieza laughed. Not from anger or humiliation, but from genuine, dark amusement. Welcome to irrelevance, brother, he muttered to the empty cell. It's crowded down here. In the cafeteria, Saitama discovered Earth food. Real Earth food from his dimension's cultural equivalent. Hamburgers, ramen, rice dishes. Nothing fancy, just simple, familiar flavors that reminded him of home. This is good, he said around a mouthful of curry. Way better than those purple fruits on Namek. Bulma had joined him, partly out of curiosity, partly out of necessity to debrief. So, you defeated the universe's most feared tyrant, broke a planet in half and just flicked his brother into space. All in less than a week. Yeah, it's been a weird week for me too. And you're just... what? Planning to stay on Earth until we can figure out how to send you home? That's the idea. These Dragon Ball things are my best shot, right? They are. But we need to wait for them to recharge. Namek's Dragon Balls are gone with the planet, and Earth's set was used recently. It'll be a few months before they're active again. Months, Saitama repeated. Okay, I can work with that. Maybe I'll find some challenges here. Bulma studied him carefully. You're really just looking for a good fight, aren't you? That's why you seem almost disappointed about winning. Is it that obvious? Kind of. It's the same energy Goku has, except he's happy about getting stronger. You seem sad about being too strong. Saitama was quiet for a moment, chewing slowly. It's lonely, he admitted finally. Being so much stronger than everyone else. Every fight ends the same way. Every villain goes down. After a while, you stop feeling like a hero and start feeling like you're just going through motions. Then maybe this universe can help, Bulma offered. We've got no shortage of threats. Androids are coming in a few years, Cell after that, Majin Buu eventually, and apparently there are gods of destruction and angels and multiversal tournaments. Gods of destruction? Long story. But the point is, if you're looking for challenges, this universe has them. You just might need to wait for them. Waiting, Saitama smiled slightly. I'm good at waiting. It's kind of my thing. A commotion outside drew their attention. Through the window, they could see another ship landing, this one bearing Galactic Patrol insignia. Several armed officers emerged, clearly here about the Frieza situation. And that's my cue, Bulma sighed. Want to sit in on the intergalactic diplomatic incident? Not really. Is there dessert? Third door on the right. Help yourself. As Bulma left to deal with the Galactic Patrol, Saitama finished his meal in comfortable solitude. Through the window, he could see Goku demonstrating techniques to Gohan, Vegeta brooding in a corner, Piccolo meditating, and the general chaos of Earth's defenders dealing with aftermath. This wasn't his world. But it was interesting. And interesting was better than boring. For now, that was enough. 3 months passed. In that time, Earth adapted to its new reality in ways both predictable and surprising. Frieza remained contained, his rehabilitation, if it could be called that, consisting mainly of long conversations with Goku that left the tyrant more confused than reformed. Cooler returned twice more, each time stronger, each time flicked away with the same casual dismissal that drove him to train even harder. And Saitama waited. He rented an apartment in West City, close enough to Capsule Corp to respond to threats, but far enough to maintain some privacy. The Hero Association didn't exist here, so he took odd jobs, construction work mostly, where his strength proved useful for moving I-beams and demolishing condemned buildings. The pay was modest but sufficient for rent and groceries. The Dragon Balls reactivated on schedule. Bulma tracked them down with her Dragon radar within days, assembling all 7 at Capsule Corp's secure facility. The Z-Fighters gathered for the summoning, knowing this might be their last day with the strange hero who'd accidentally saved their timeline. Everyone ready? Bulma asked, the 7 orange spheres arranged in a circle before them. Saitama stood slightly apart from the group, his expression unreadable. Goku stood beside him, looking uncharacteristically somber. I'm gonna miss you, Goku said honestly. We never did get that real sparring match. You got stronger though, Saitama observed. I can tell. Your power feels denser than before. Been training in the time chamber. Vegeta showed me this new transformation he's working on. Something beyond Super Saiyan. Goku's grin returned briefly. Maybe if you come back someday, I'll be strong enough to really challenge you. Maybe, Saitama replied, though his tone suggested doubt. Bulma stepped forward, hands cupped around her mouth. Eternal Dragon, by your name I summon you, Shenron. The Dragon Balls began to glow. Light erupted skyward, coalescing into a massive serpentine form that stretched into the clouds. Red eyes blazed like stars as the Eternal Dragon materialized, his presence pressing down on everyone present with divine weight. You have summoned me, Shenron's voice rumbled like thunder. Speak your wish, and I shall grant it, provided it is within my power. Saitama stepped forward. I need to return to my own universe, the one I came from. Can you do that? Shenron's eyes focused on the bald hero, and for a long moment the dragon was silent. His expression, as much as a dragon's face could express, showed something like confusion, then concentration, then finally resignation. Your request is unusual, Shenron said slowly. I sense the dimensional tear that brought you here. It was caused by your own power interacting with reality in ways not meant to occur. So you can't send me back? I can create a portal to your dimension, but there is a complication. Everyone tensed. Complications with wish-granting dragons rarely meant anything good. What complication? Vegeta demanded. The portal will be unstable. It will remain open for only moments, enough time for one being to pass through. After that, it will collapse permanently. No further dimensional travel between these realities will be possible. So it's one way, Piccolo concluded. He goes through. The door closes forever. Correct, and there is more. Shenron's gaze remained fixed on Saitama. Your power signature has adapted to this universe. Returning to your original dimension may cause adjustments. What kind of adjustments? Saitama asked carefully. Unknown. Your strength may remain unchanged, or it may fluctuate as your body readjusts to your home universe's physical laws, or the dimensional transition itself may have unforeseen effects. I cannot predict with certainty. So I might get weaker, Saitama said, or stay the same, or something weird might happen. Essentially, yes. Do you still wish to proceed? Saitama looked at the assembled Z fighters. Goku, whose infectious enthusiasm had made 3 months bearable. Gohan, who'd grown noticeably stronger under his father's training. Krillin, whose nervous energy masked genuine courage. Piccolo, whose meditative wisdom had provided unexpected comfort. Vegeta, whose pride-driven determination Saitama understood better than he'd admit. And Bulma, whose scientific curiosity had led to long conversations about universe physics and power mechanics. I have people waiting for me at home, Saitama said finally. Genos, my disciple, King, my friend, the Hero Association. They're probably worried. And I left groceries in my cart. 3 months later, those groceries are definitely bad, Krillin pointed out. Still need to return the cart, though. It's the principle. Goku stepped forward, hand extended. Before you go, let's at least shake hands. Properly, between warriors. Saitama took the offered hand. Goku's grip was firm, his smile genuine. Thank you for everything. You stopped Frieza when we couldn't, saved Namek's refugees, and showed us what real strength looks like. You would have beaten him eventually, Saitama replied. You're that kind of person. You don't stay down. Maybe, but you did it first. Goku's expression grew more serious. Can I ask you something? What's it like being that strong? Does it ever stop feeling lonely? Saitama considered the question carefully. I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. But meeting you guys, it helped. Knowing there are people who want to get stronger, who enjoy fighting, not because they're cruel, but because they love the challenge. That made it feel less pointless. He released Goku's hand and turned to Shenron. I'm ready. Send me home. As you wish, the dragon's eyes flared. Portal opening in 10 seconds. Farewell, warrior from another world. Your presence has altered this timeline in ways both small and profound. Reality tore open beside Saitama, a vertical slash of light that revealed glimpses of a different world beyond. City Z, familiar buildings, his apartment complex visible in the distance. Wait! Gohan rushed forward, pulling something from his GI. Take this. It's a Capsule Corp communicator. If you ever find a way back, you can contact us." Saitama accepted the small device, pocketing it carefully. "Thanks, kid. Keep training. You've got potential." The portal was fully open now, its light growing intense. Through it, they could hear sounds, traffic, city noise, the everyday chaos of Saitama's world. 5 seconds, Shenron announced. Saitama took one last look at the Z fighters. "If you see Frieza, tell him. Tell him I hope he figures out what comes after being the strongest. It's a harder question than it sounds." 3 seconds. He stepped toward the portal. 2 seconds. 1 foot crossed the threshold. 1 second. And just before he crossed completely, Saitama turned back with the faintest smile. "Also, Goku, keep getting stronger. Maybe someday you'll be strong enough that we can have that real fight." "I will," Goku shouted. "I promise." 0. Saitama stepped through. The portal collapsed behind him with a sound like reality sealing itself. The Dragon Balls scattered, rising into the sky before shooting off in different directions to turn to stone for another year. Shenron faded, his task complete. And the Z fighters stood in silence, staring at the space where the portal had been. "He's really gone," Krillin said quietly. "Yeah," Goku replied, his smile returning slowly. "But he'll be fine. He's Saitama." Vegeta turned away, hands clenched. "That bald idiot showed us what's possible. Power without limits, strength that defies comprehension." His voice dropped. "And now we know what to aim for." "You think we can reach his level?" Piccolo asked. "Maybe not, but we can try." Vegeta's expression hardened with determination. "That's what Saiyans do. We surpass our limits, even impossible ones." In his containment cell, Frieza had watched the entire event through monitors. The portal, the farewell, the departure of the being who'd so thoroughly defeated him. And now, alone again with his thoughts, he found himself considering Saitama's final message. What comes after being the strongest? It was the question Frieza had spent his entire life avoiding. He'd built his empire, his identity, his very sense of self around being supreme. And when that was stripped away, he'd had nothing left. But Saitama, who possessed true supremacy, seemed to be searching for meaning beyond strength itself. "Perhaps," Frieza murmured to the empty cell, "that's the real power. Not the ability to defeat anyone, but the wisdom to know what to do with that ability." It was a strange thought for a tyrant. But then, these were strange times. City Z, Earth, Saitama's universe. The transition was instantaneous and nauseating. One moment, Saitama stood in the Dragon Ball universe's Capsule Corp facility. The next, he was stumbling onto familiar asphalt in the parking lot where this had all begun. The shopping cart still sat where he'd left it, though the groceries inside had long since spoiled and been removed by store management. "Huh," Saitama observed, steadying himself. "I'm back." The world around him looked right. His world, his city, his familiar reality. But something felt different. Not wrong, exactly. Just adjusted. Like putting on glasses with a slightly different prescription. Everything was the same, yet subtly altered in ways he couldn't quite articulate. His phone buzzed in his pocket. 37 missed calls from Genos, 15 from King, and a dozen urgent messages from the Hero Association. The most recent was from 3 hours ago. "Genos, Master, where are you? You've been missing for 3 months. I've been searching everywhere. Please respond." 3 months. The same amount of time had passed here as in the other universe. At least the timelines were synchronized. He dialed Genos's number. It rang once before his disciple answered, voice frantic. "Master Saitama, where have you been? I've searched every disaster zone, every monster hotspot, every sale in the city. I thought something terrible had happened." I was in another universe, Saitama replied simply. Fought some space tyrants. It was okay. Another universe? Master, Are you joking? No, it really happened. There was a mosquito, then I punched it, then reality broke. Pretty weird. A pause. Master, are you feeling well? Should I bring medical assistance? I'm fine. Where are you? Your apartment. I've been maintaining it in your absence. Everything is exactly as you left it. Plus, I've installed new security features and organized your manga collection by publication date, and I'll be there in 5 minutes. Saitama hung up and looked at the shopping cart. The store would probably want it back. He grabbed the handle and began walking toward his apartment, pushing the empty cart through familiar streets. People stared. A bald man in a yellow jumpsuit pushing a shopping cart while looking completely unbothered wasn't the strangest thing City Z residents had seen, but it ranked up there. Some recognized him as a hero. Others just assumed he was eccentric. The walk gave Saitama time to process. He was home. Back to his normal life. Back to the routine of hero work and grocery shopping and manga reading. Back to a universe where he was, as far as anyone knew, the strongest being in existence. The thought should have been comforting. Instead, it felt hollow. I'm back where I started, he muttered. Nothing's changed. Except that wasn't quite true. He'd changed. Meeting Goku, fighting Frieza, experiencing a universe where transformations and power levels and cosmic threats were normal. It had given him perspective. His strength wasn't a curse unique to him. It was just where he happened to exist on a scale that stretched far beyond one universe. His apartment building came into view. Genos stood outside, pacing frantically, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming in the afternoon sun. The moment he spotted Saitama, he sprinted over with speed that blurred the air. Master, you're truly back. Your appearance is unchanged. Your power signature remains stable. Your physical condition appears optimal despite 3 months of absence. I'm fine, Genos. Really. But where were you? What happened? The Hero Association has been demanding explanations. There were monsters I couldn't defeat alone. Genos stopped abruptly. Master, you seem different. Different how? I'm not certain. Something about your presence. It feels more refined, controlled, as if your power has been compressed somehow. Saitama remembered Shenron's warning about adjustments. Maybe this was it. His strength remained, but his body had been recalibrated to his home universe's physics. Or maybe Genos was just imagining things. Long story, Saitama said. Let's go inside. I'll explain while you make tea. They climbed the stairs to his apartment. 3rd floor, same as always. Everything was exactly as Genos had promised, spotlessly clean, perfectly organized, somehow more orderly than Saitama had ever kept it. Over tea, which Genos prepared with mechanical precision, Saitama explained. The mosquito, the dimensional tear, Namek, Frieza, the Z-Fighters, Goku's infectious enthusiasm, the Dragon Ball's wish. All of it spilled out in his characteristically matter-of-fact tone, as if describing a grocery run rather than an interdimensional adventure. Genos listened with growing amazement, his eyes literally glowing with intensity as he recorded every word. Master, he said when Saitama finished, do you realize what this means? If other universes exist, with beings as powerful as this Frieza you described, then perhaps there are techniques, training methods, opponents who could finally push you to your limits. Maybe, but the portal's closed. No way back. For now, Genos countered, but if it happened once, it could happen again. Or we could research dimensional travel. Science has come far. Surely Capsule Corporation's counterpart exists in this world. We could seek their assistance. Saitama smiled faintly. Genos' enthusiasm reminded him of Goku, different in expression but similar in spirit. Maybe later. Right now, I just want to take a bath and catch up on my manga. I missed 3 months of releases. A knock at the door interrupted them. Genos answered it to find King, Saitama's unlikely friend and S-class hero, standing nervously in the hallway. His legendary King engine, actually just his heart pounding from anxiety, rumbled audibly. "Saitama," King's deep voice carried relief, despite his terrified expression. "You're back. I was worried. Hey, King, want to come in? We're having tea. Actually, I need to tell you something." King's face grew even more serious, which was saying something. "The Hero Association called an emergency meeting. There's a new threat, something they're calling Dragon Level or higher, and they want you there." "Another monster?" Saitama sighed. "Can't I get 1 day to rest?" "It's not a monster. It's a person, a hero from another city who's been challenging S-class heroes to duels. He's defeated 3 already. Tank Top Master, Atomic Samurai, and Flashy Flash. All in under a minute each." That got Saitama's attention. "Who is he?" "Calls himself the Limiter. Says he's discovered the secret to breaking human limitations and wants to test himself against the strongest heroes." King paused. "He specifically asked to fight you." Saitama stood up, his expression unreadable. "Breaking limiters, huh? That sounds familiar." "Will you go?" Genos asked, already preparing to accompany his master. Saitama thought about it. Another challenger, another fight that would probably end in 1 punch, another disappointment. But then he remembered Goku's promise to keep getting stronger, Vegeta's determination to surpass impossible limits, Frieza's question about what comes after being the strongest. Maybe this limiter person would be different. Maybe not. But there was only one way to find out. "Yeah," Saitama said, grabbing his cape. "I'll go. But after, I'm getting new groceries. That's non-negotiable." As they left the apartment, Saitama cast one last glance at the Capsule Corp communicator, sitting on his shelf. It probably wouldn't work across dimensional barriers. Probably couldn't reach the friends he'd left behind in another universe. But he kept it anyway, just in case. Because for the first time in years, Saitama had something beyond strength. He had connection, the memory of warriors who understood his struggle, the knowledge that somewhere in another reality, people were training to reach impossible heights. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. It didn't make him less lonely, but it made the loneliness more bearable. "Master," Genos said as they walked toward Hero Association headquarters, "you're smiling." "Am I?" "Yes, it's unusual." "What are you thinking about?" Saitama looked up at the sky, remembering mint green atmosphere and 3 sun coronas. "Just hoping the new guy's strong. That's all. And if he isn't, then I'll keep waiting. That's what I do." They walked on through City Z's familiar streets, heading toward another fight, another challenge, another opportunity to test strength that had long since exceeded its purpose. But for Saitama, the test now wasn't whether he could win. It was whether winning could ever mean something again. And maybe, just maybe, his time in another universe had taught him how to start answering that question. 6 months after Saitama's return, life had found a new rhythm. The limiter turned out to be strong, dragon-level threat, capable of defeating most S-class heroes. But against Saitama, the fight lasted 8 seconds. 1 casual punch, 1 defeated challenger, 1 more disappointed opponent who'd believed themselves ready for greatness. But something was different this time. Instead of walking away after the fight, Saitama had offered the defeated hero advice. Simple words, but meaningful. Training's not just about getting stronger, it's about understanding why you want strength in the first place. The limiter had looked at him with confusion. "You don't seem that strong. How did you win?" "I broke my limiter," Saitama explained, "like you're trying to do. But here's the thing, once you break it, you need to figure out what comes next." That's the hard part. It became something of a pattern. Monsters still attacked, heroes still fought. Saitama still ended threats with single punches. But now he talked more. To Genos, to fellow heroes, to King during their video game sessions. He started thinking about Goku's question. What's it like being that strong? The answer, he was discovering, wasn't about the strength itself. It was about what you built around it. Connections, purpose, meaning beyond raw power. Meanwhile, in another universe, the Z fighters continued their eternal cycle of training and fighting. Goku achieved Super Saiyan 2, then 3, constantly pushing toward the levels Saitama had shown were possible. Vegeta trained with renewed fury, determined to prove Saiyans could reach any height. And in his containment cell, Frieza began the long, painful process of reconsidering everything he'd built his identity upon. The communicator on Saitama's shelf never activated. The dimensions remained separate, the portal closed forever. But sometimes, late at night, Saitama would look at it and wonder, were they still training? Still fighting? Still growing stronger? He hoped so, because even across dimensional barriers, even separated by impossible distances, the knowledge that somewhere warriors were pushing their limits made his own limitless strength feel less lonely. And in a small apartment in City Z, a bald hero in a yellow jumpsuit continued his routine. Sales on Saturday, hero work when needed, manga on quiet evenings. The strongest being in his universe, still searching for meaning in strength that had long since exceeded any challenge. But now he knew something he hadn't before. Strength without connection was just power. Strength shared, tested, and understood was something more. It wasn't a solution to his loneliness, but it was a beginning. And sometimes, a beginning is enough. Far away in a universe of ki and transformations and cosmic battles, Goku stood atop Kami's lookout, staring at the stars. He'd been training all day, pushing himself harder, reaching for heights that seemed impossible. "Still thinking about him?" Piccolo asked, joining the Saiyan. "Yeah," Goku admitted. "Wonder if he's okay, if he found what he was looking for. He seemed like someone who'd figure it out eventually. Maybe. Or maybe he's still searching." Goku's expression grew determined. "That's why I have to keep training. If he ever finds a way back, I want to be strong enough to give him a real fight. A challenge he can't just punch through. That's impossible, Goku. So was beating Frieza. So was Super Saiyan. So was everything we've accomplished." Goku smiled. "Impossible just means it'll take longer." In his cell, Frieza overheard the conversation through monitors. The bald warrior who defeated him was gone, but his impact remained. Goku trained harder. Vegeta pushed further. Even Frieza himself had begun questioning his path. What comes after being the strongest? The question haunted him. But perhaps, he thought, finding the answer was more important than reclaiming the title he'd lost. Across two universes, separated by dimensional walls and physical laws, warriors continued their eternal dance with strength and purpose. Some sought challenge. Some sought meaning. Some sought redemption. And one bald hero pulling a shopping cart through familiar streets had learned the most important lesson of all. Strength that breaks all limits is powerful. But strength that connects across universes? That's something even greater. May the Force be with you. More stories await.